In short, it all starts with an aristocratic banquet. The music is playing, the nobles are chatting, young lords are trying to hit on girls. An ordinary evening of rich loafers. And then Lucian comes into the hall. The atmosphere instantly dies. Seriously. People react as if not a human had just entered the room, but a city raid boss. Everyone starts whispering, "That's him. Lucian Cronia. That's the one." Young nobles literally discuss him like a legend from horror stories, and not in a good way. One particularly talkative person starts telling the girl, "He's crazy. He's cursed. He even drove his own mother to suicide." Bro doesn't hold back at all. Gossip flies faster than magic arrows. The girl is already beginning to be afraid of a man she hasn't even really seen. Meanwhile, this genius decides to combine gossip with flirting. Type, "Forget about him. We'd better go somewhere together." It is at this moment that fate realizes that it is going to be very funny. Bam! The bottle hits him right in the head. The music turns off. The whole room freezes. A new arch begins. Our guy Lucian appears as the main villain of the season, and immediately gives out. "Even a dog doesn't behave like that during heat, you son of a bitch." Oh, they sailed. Bro didn't just hear the conversation. He decided to conduct a masterclass on correcting behavior. Bang! Another bottle kick. Bang! A kick. Bang! One more. "Do you like to pick on girls?" Bang! "Do you like to use other people's family tragedies?" Bang! "Do you like it?" From the outside, it looks like a free re-education program for aristocrats. The entire banquet is watching as Lucian turns one poor guy into a teaching aid. And the worst part? No one is particularly surprised, because everyone has known for a long time. If Lucian clings to you, prayers won't help anymore. The guards come running, trying to stop the fight, but then a new problem occurs. Lucian suddenly starts yelling into the void, "I told you to shut up." Everyone is looking where he is looking. There's no one there. No one at all. An absolutely empty place, and Lucian continues to talk as if the other person is standing there. And that's where the aristocrats finally lose their peace of mind. He's really crazy. He talks to the air. I told you. In fact, Lucian's reputation is now getting a free boost, although he's actually talking to Russell, with a ghost mentor. The only person who even understands what our guy is going through. Russell tries to calm him down, because Lucian had just become a warlock, and darkness works roughly as an amplifier of negative emotions. Are you angry? Get plus 100% rage. Are you offended? Keep berserk mode. Therefore, if you don't stop now, Lucian may accidentally become the very monster that everyone around is already afraid of. And then the elder brother of the beaten nobleman appears, a real closet, a real knight, a real lover of other people's collars. He grabs Lucian. He pushes me against the wall, and he starts pumping his license. Our guy understands right away. You can't win by force here, therefore it uses the most ancient technology of mankind. Bites him. Yes. He just takes it and bites it. Bro literally activated the rabid raccoon fighting style. The knight completely explodes from such arrogance, grabs Lucian by the neck, and slams his head into the wall with all his might. Bam. One more time. Bam. And that's where the real madness begins. Strange images begin to flash before Lucian's eyes. Rain, streets, smartphone, credit card. Objects that don't exist in this world at all. Our guy is hanging out, because she suddenly remembers. Is it haram? 29 years of life, modern Korea, past life. Bro understands that he is a hitman, and not just a hitman. He got into a novel, in that very novel, and the funniest part starts next, because he remembers his own role. Not a hero, not the chosen one, not the savior of the world. Of course not. Fate looked at him and said, "Congratulations, you're the interim boss, the one who will be killed later." Lucian remembers the plot. He will be betrayed in the future. He will be declared a villain. They'll kill him. The end of the story. Our guy looks at this information and gets a critical blow mentally. Why me? He didn't ask to see ghosts. I didn't ask you to become an outcast. I didn't ask you to turn into a villain. But that's exactly what happened. For 10 years, ghosts had been driving him crazy. For 10 years, the whole world thought he was crazy. And now it turns out that the ending has already been written in advance. A disgusting deal. And then the system appears. Because without a system, a hitman is not a hitman. The whole world freezes. Time stops. A choice appears before him. Submit to fate, or confront her. The clock starts ticking. Tick. So. Tick. So. Our guy doesn't even think for long. Because for the first time in many years, he began to feel happy. He's got a mentor. There was hope. There was a chance to live a normal life. And he's not going to give it to anyone. So Lucian raises his head and declares, "I will resist fate." At this moment, red threads appear around him. The system explains. Every red thread is a path to his death. Each red thread is a part of the script. Do you want to survive? Cut them. Break the plot. change the story, create a new route. In fact, our guy got the break a novel with your own hands mode. Time starts up again. Everything disappears. That leaves only Lucian and Russell. And then he takes the first real step, the first plot change, the first blow to fate. He looks at his mentor and says, "The teacher, I will study black magic." And at that moment, a blue thread appears between them. And then, chick, she disappears. The first chain of fate is broken. The first scenic rail has been uprooted. And our guy finally decides one thing. If Roman wants to make a villain out of him, then Roman will have to try very hard. Bro is literally being reborn right in front of our eyes. After all the events, Lucian finally makes a decision that changes everything. Russell, the ghostly teacher, looks at him and can't believe his ears. Because just yesterday, this guy was shying away from black magic like a cat from a bathtub. And today he suddenly declares, "Teacher, teach me black magic." And then Russell has a system glitch. Bro was so stunned that he tried to grab his heart. Although he doesn't have a heart, because he's a ghost. The level of shock is simply exorbitant. He repeats the question several times. They say, "Are you serious? Is this not a joke? Did you get hit too hard on the head?" And Lucian stands like a rock, and he answers, "No, I'm serious." And that's where the real character change begins. Our guy finally understands one simple thing. In his previous life, he was constantly bumping into walls. There is no money. There are no possibilities. There is no choice. And now, he's an aristocrat. He has the resources. There is knowledge of the plot. There is time. And the most important thing, there is a chance to change everything. So Lucian decides, to hell with fate, to hell with the novel. I'll write my own story. And honestly, these are the vibes of the real protagonist. Russell is still trying to figure out what happened, and Lucian gives out an almost philosophical phrase. The world just started to look different. Bro literally opened a new tab of consciousness. But the teacher quickly stops him, because the student almost broke his head just now. First the treatment, then the magic. And as if by fate's timer, they start banging on the door. Russell immediately understands who it is. Father. And then a new catastrophe begins. The door literally flies in. Novio appears in furious boss mode. This guy screams from the doorway. "Are you completely stupid? I sent you to meet people. And you got in a fight. And honestly, he can be understood. He sent his son to a social event. The son returned with a reputation as a berserker. But then something happens that no one expected. Lucian looks at him calmly and says, for the first time in many years, Father, and everything. Combo crit. A super effective attack. Novio freezes, reboot, system error. Because Lucian usually referred to him exclusively as Count. And then suddenly, Father. I swear, if this were an anime, a sad violin would be playing right now. Even anger disappears instantly. Novio literally starts stuttering, and then Lucian explains the reason for the fight. It turns out that the freak used the memory of his mother to hit on women. And then even the viewer wants to punch this Viscount in the head. Our guy calmly explains, why should I treat him like a human, if he's behaving like an animal? And then the father finally understands. Something has changed. It has changed a lot. This was no longer the same nervous boy. In front of him is a man who has finally begun to grow up. And then Lucian finishes him off with the second phrase. I want to study fencing. And if my father was shocked before, now it's just destroyed. Because the Cronia family has been a family of swordsmen for generations. And Lucian refused to go down that path all the time. And suddenly he asks for it, voluntarily, without threats, without any persuasion. Novio is ready to cry on the spot. Bro literally got his son back. He immediately agrees, immediately supports it, immediately promises to help, and he's so happy that he forgets about the fight altogether. What kind of fight? Which Viscount? My son wants to swing a sword, the best day of my life, but the most touching part begins next. My father is about to leave. It stops. He turns around, and he speaks softly. Thank you. Just one word, but it hits harder than any sword, because Lucian suddenly realizes the truth. In the novel, it always seemed to him that his father looked at him coldly, that he didn't care, but it was a lie. Novio loved him. I've always loved you, until the very end. Even in the original story, he tried to protect his son to the death, and that's where our guy really gets covered. He understands that I would have lost this man, that everything ended terribly in the last line of fate, and for the first time, a real goal appears. It's not easy to survive. Save everyone who can be saved. After his father leaves, Russell appears, and then another plot twist begins. The teacher asks, why do you need a sword at all? Lucian explains his plan. He wants to use the darkness as an aura, hide your sorcery, become a swordsman warlock. In fact, Bro is going to disguise a nuclear missile as a kitchen knife. Russell says first, theoretically possible, and then he adds, but no one did that. And then Lucian is about to argue, because he knows a character from the novel who could, But suddenly, Russell gives such a twist that even the reader blinks twice. He calmly declares, "I've been down this road before." What? It turns out that the old man himself was this madman. He combined the sword and the darkness himself. He himself has walked the path that Lucian is just about to begin. So our guy literally found the only mentor on the entire continent for his crazy idea. The luck level is just illegal, and at that moment a red thread appears between them. It's like a sign of fate, a turning point, a new chapter of life. Russell smiles and says, "If you really chose this path, I'll teach you everything I know." And that's how the moment ends, where the depressed aristocrat finally disappears. And instead Lucian appears, who is going to become a swordsman, a warlock, and the main headache for the whole world at the same time. Bro is finally starting to change his life, and it looks so unusual that others are literally catching a system glitch. After talking to Russell, our guy is acting like a normal person for the first time in a long time. So normal that the teacher himself begins to suspect a trick. Maybe you should hit your head again. In short, even if the ghost noticed the changes, it means that the progress is really serious. A few days pass. The maids hang up the laundry and discuss Lucian as a rare mythical beast. One says, "Don't you think the young master has changed?" The second one immediately, "Did you notice that too?" It turns out that Lucian used to look at people as if he was choosing who to send to the next life first. And now he calmly greets and even responds to greetings. For locals, it's like seeing the boss of the final dungeon suddenly start feeding kittens. At the same time, the servants sincerely worry about him. Despite all the rumors about insanity, Lucian never bullied the servants or touched anyone. That's why everyone just wants bro to finally get things right. And then the real shock content begins. Lucian personally comes to the dining room. Yes. Self. Feet. He doesn't lock himself in a room, doesn't throw a tantrum, but just comes to a family breakfast. The whole family has a look on their face like they just saw a dragon paying taxes. My father and older brother are just hanging out. Our guy calmly sits down at the table. I'm a little late, as if he hadn't been living as a recluse in recent years. The father immediately starts fussing and taking care of his son. Carson looks suspicious. This guy understands perfectly well that it's hard for Lucius right now. He notices the trembling, the tension, and the way his brother literally forces himself to be around people. But instead of pressure, he says, "Take your time, do everything gradually." And that's where one of the most enjoyable moments of the chapter begins. For the first time, Lucian feels truly supported by his family. Not pity, not an annoyance, and support. And while the atmosphere is becoming almost familial, our guy decides to give the next critical blow. He raises his head and says, "Brother, teach me swordsmanship." Bam! Carson drops his fork. My father almost stops breathing. Even I would have asked them again. Because Lucian is not asking for a new book or medicine. He wants to pick up a sword. And this is a completely different level. For understanding, starting education at his age is about as logical as learning the multiplication table for the first time after receiving a doctorate. But Carson quickly realizes one thing. Lucius doesn't need the title of a great swordsman. He needs strength, confidence, the ability to stand on your own 2 feet, and then the impossible happens. Good. Lucian is already hanging up. Bro literally can't believe his ears. He was preparing for a lot of persuasion, arguments, and drama. And I got the consent on the first attempt. Of course, Carson makes a condition, get well first. But the fact itself has already taken place. The family looks happy for the first time in a long time. The father generally sits with the face of a man who has just seen the end of a long-term curse. For him, it's like spring has finally come after an endless winter. After lunch, Lucian goes back, and he understands a simple thing. Even the small changes made his family smile. That's more than enough for him right now. And then Russell appears next to me. The teacher suddenly praises the student. Well done. Our guy is already slowing down, because hearing praise from Russell is about as likely as receiving a compliment from a raid boss. They make fun of each other for a bit, after which Russell remembers. It turns out that he had prepared something for his future student a long time ago. That is, my grandfather literally waited for years for the opportunity to teach someone. The real sensei from anime? Lucian agrees to look at the gift and asks an important question on the way. Can a warlock become immune to the light? And that's where the interesting end part begins. Russell explains that those who possess light almost always experience the effects of darkness. At most, they lose their blessing or become fallen. But warlocks in the opposite direction usually come to a complete end, or a disability, or a one-way ticket, a very fair balance of the world. But then the teacher adds an interesting thought. Light and darkness are not exactly enemies. It's not Gojo versus Sukuna. It's more like 2 parts of the same system. If there is light, there is darkness. If there is darkness, there is light. And theoretically, you can still get immunity to light. However, no one knows how yet. It is at this moment that a red thread appears in front of Lucian. Someone very important. someone who already has such immunity. And then our guy gets it. In the novel, there was only one person with this ability. Not a hero, not a saint, not the chosen one. And the final boss. And Lucian is like that. That's great. So we'll steal the build from the last boss. Bro literally decided to swing through the guide of the main monster of this story. Bro finally finishes putting the puzzle together in his head and realizes that Narc is literally a walking cheat code that needs to be kept close at all costs. He looks at his system quests again and notices an interesting thing. Unlike the Leo story, where failure meant an instant ticket to the cemetery, there is no such thing here. And then our guy gets two things at once. First of all, Narc is cool, but not as irreplaceable as Leo. If Leo is a locomotive that already pulls the entire train, then Narc is an elite first-class carriage. It's useful and pleasant, but the train is still moving without him. Secondly, the most important thing. If this guy had been a hidden assassin, an agent of his brother, or the future boss of the Lucas raid, the system would have been screaming death, death, death in red letters long ago. But there is nothing like that. So the conclusion is simple. Bro is safe. You can recruit. Lucas smiles and thanks the Narc for his help, and he suddenly starts to stagger and grab his head. It turns out that the guy has overheated his abilities so much that he will now be recovering for 2 weeks, and then the fun begins. This guy doesn't hide his skills at all. The type literally says, "Yes, I have foresight and insight, but don't tell anyone." Lucas is looking at him like a man who already knows more about him than he does through the status window. After that, the drug addict gets his medicine, his pet, and goes to rest. The day of the monthly assessment arrives. The whole academy is buzzing like a beehive. Someone teleports to the training ground. Someone is riding in carriages. And in one carriage, a real squad of the main characters gathers. Lucas, Leo, a drug addict, and Pi, who has already officially become the mascot of this company. Leo immediately puts on sound insulation, because when Lucas is around, conversations always quickly turn into the category of high treason and conspiracies. Leo reminds me with displeasure, "So the drug already knows your situation." Yes, the Narc happily confirms. At the same time, Leo looks at him as if he is assessing whether he can accidentally strangle a person with one hand. After all, Lucas revealed the most important secret to some exchange student whom he has known for just a few days. Suspiciously, very suspicious. Then Narc tells about his abilities. Foresight, insight. In short, the guy got a premium subscription to intuition. After that, Leo's expression becomes as if he has just read the demon's user agreement, because such an ability in the wrong hands is a real nightmare. And somehow Leo believes him. Although not completely. At the training ground, Lucas notices a strange pattern. Several people are standing in the distance and constantly looking in his direction. Pi immediately turns on the main character mode. Are they looking at me? I would like to. After a little exploration, an interesting thing turns out. There are already rumors about Lucas in the city, and people aren't just discussing him. They discuss Lucas's changes. That is, people are starting to notice that the local whipping boy has suddenly turned into someone else. And then Lucas understands. The story begins to spread beyond the school. So it's time to check the media. Our guy buys a whole stack of newspapers and magazines. Leo looks at this and is blown away. "What are you doing?" "I'm analyzing trends." It sounds like he's preparing to take over the stock market. Then Lucas uses a search spell. The real magic Ctrl+F says, "Ask Canyon," and the newspaper opens on the right page by itself. Bro literally turned reading the press into a search engine. There are indeed articles in the local newspapers about how Lucas suddenly changed, but the major publications are still silent. It's too small a story. While, and then Leo pulls out a tabloid, the Yellow Press, the one that can turn an ordinary sneeze into a coup d'etat. "That's what you should read." And he turns out to be right, because such publications like to dig into the dirty laundry of aristocrats. Leo suggests stopping it all, but Lucas unexpectedly refuses, because he needs this information. If the rumors reach my brother, then they can be manipulated. And if they can be manipulated, then the brother can be fed false conclusions. The chess begins, and then Leo suddenly gives out. "Sometimes it seems to me that you are a completely different person." Ouch. A dangerous conversation. Very dangerous. Lucas internally catches the critical blow, but outwardly he remains calm. And he quickly changes the subject. 3 weeks pass. Our guy rocks out like an RPG hero after a series of side quests. My health has grown. The skills have grown. Luck is almost out of the negative zone. There was even a new trait. Charm. Yes. The same Lucas that everyone hated started to build up his charisma. The world has clearly gone crazy. And now comes the main moment. Midterm exams are tomorrow. So a new chapter of the game begins. And knowing Lucas, she definitely won't be calm. Bro finally gets his major upgrade, and the real becoming of a warlock begins. Our guy is riding through the forest on a Chandra, and next to him, as usual, his master Russell is flying. The same man who calls himself a genius warlock without a drop of shame. And literally, My name is Russell Paul, and I'm an unfortunate genius warlock. Bro has given himself the title of legend and doesn't see a problem with it at all. Lucian tries to tease him. That's what you called yourself, isn't it? And Russell doesn't even blink. Yes. And I also said that I chose you only because you are very smart. The self-esteem of this type is pumped to the maximum level. Then the lecture about black magic begins. It turns out that the main stat for a warlock is not strength, mana, or even talent, brain. According to Russell, black magic is a constant struggle with one's darkness. If the mind is weak, hello, fallen warlock. If you're strong, you can keep the darkness under control. And then the master suddenly declares that Lucian has already passed the most difficult part. Because for more than 10 years he lived among ghosts, endured their bullying, and did not go mad. That is, while others were undergoing some special training, our guy received a course of extreme psychotherapy from the Army of the Dead for free, a real hardcore mode. But then the fun begins. Russell says, "Now you need to feel the darkness," and grabs Lucian by the shoulder. The next second our guy realizes that something very bad is going on. An icy chill runs through my body. He looked like he'd been thrown out naked in the middle of a blizzard. Black smoke appears in front of my eyes. Chandra almost sets a high jump record out of surprise. And then the darkness returns back to the body. And then all hell breaks loose. Bro feels like someone poured acid inside him and decided to mix all the organs with a construction mixer. It literally folds in half. Sweat is pouring down. It gets dark before my eyes. And Russell stands next to me and says, "It hurts a little. A little bit. Little bit." This grandfather was clearly trained by anime survival instructors. But after a while, the pain really disappears. And then a new problem becomes clear. Every time Lucian uses up his supply of darkness completely, new darkness will return through the same adaptation. That is, the warlock receives a huge supply of energy, but sometimes pays for it with a subscription to suffering. But the bonuses are serious. If the magician is left without mana, then that's it. And after that, the warlock is still able to swing his abilities for a couple of days. Literally endless endurance mode. After that, the introductory course on how not to become the final boss begins. Russell lists the rules. You can't accumulate negativity. You can't use darkness against people for no reason. You can't just kill like that. You can't mock the dead and practice necromancy. In fact, the warlocks were given tremendous power and instructions from the series. Please don't turn into psychopaths. Then Russell decides to show the basics. He points to the tree, but then Lucian suddenly says, "No, I want to try it on a ghost." And that's when I realized, bro is really tired of being a victim. For more than 10 years, these creatures had been ruining his life. Now it's time to pay the bills. At first, Russell looks at him as a man who decided to go to the raid boss for the first time, but then he agrees anyway. A snap of the fingers, and a crowd of ghosts immediately gathers around. It was like someone had given away free tickets. One of the old acquaintances even starts to grin. They say, "Oh, it's been a long time." But a second later, he is grabbed by the scruff of the neck, and he understands that something is not going according to plan today. Russell explains. People usually can't see or touch ghosts, but the darkness can, and that's where the real magic begins. Lucian closes his eyes, feels the darkness inside, gives an order. Darkness obediently flows through the body, and suddenly it appears on his hands. Black smoke begins to swirl around the fingers. The ghost sees it, and instantly panics. Literally. This guy starts stuttering and begging for mercy. Because for ghosts, a warlock is like the appearance of a protagonist with a legendary weapon for mobs. Russell is generally falling apart at this point, because beginners usually don't control the darkness that easily. And Lucian does it on the first try. It's like I've been doing this all my life. And now comes the moment of truth. Hit him. Lucian doesn't even think. He had been waiting for this moment for more than 10 years. The darkness surges forward. The black smoke stretches out into a long whip. The whip. The blow goes right through the ghost. A black wound appears on the spirit's body. The ghost is howling in terror. He looks at Lucian as if he saw the end of the world. And it is at this moment that the most important thing happens. Not a blow, not magic, not the darkness, and awareness. All his life Lucian was afraid of ghosts. I've been running away all my life. Endured. He suffered. But now everything has changed. Now the ghost is afraid of him. And our guy finally understands. He's not prey anymore. He's the hunter here now. And Russell is watching this performance with his jaw hanging open. Because his student has just given out a start that looks suspiciously cheesy even by the standards of warlocks. It looks like this bro is really going to turn the whole world upside down. Our brother Lucian is finally testing black magic for real, and that's where the fun begins. He hits the ghost, and Russell is like, "It's okay," and a second later, his jaw literally drops. Why? Because this guy just accidentally skipped the most difficult stage of using black magic. Usually the scheme is like this. Ordered the darkness, The darkness has done the job? Then I manually unhook the used darkness. And our guy is like that. No, it's on its own. Russell is already yelling inside, it's a cheat, but he doesn't say anything out loud. The teacher is smart. If you tell a student now that he is a genius, he may catch the main character syndrome ahead of time. Lucian meanwhile asks, and if I enjoy beating up ghosts, I won't become a fallen one? Russell is reassuring. On the contrary, for a normal warlock, it's almost psychotherapy. That is, ghosts are officially becoming anti-stress balls. Then Lucian finishes off the ghost completely. The darkness lashes him like a black whip. Bang. The ghost crumbles into dust and goes to be reborn. And that's where the real victory happens. Not because he defeated the enemy, because for the first time in 10 years, Lucian stopped being afraid of ghosts. Now it's the other way around. They used to hunt him, now they're looking at him like they've seen a tax bill. Our bro literally thinks, now it's you who should be afraid of me. Nicely. Russell is pleased. Says, congratulations, now let's go home and train ourselves to death. Teacher of the year. But first, a gift. It is for him that they go to the city. Jerno appears on the way. He is the commander of the first night squad of the Cronia family, and one of the few people who really treats Lucius normally. His older brother Carson sent him, not the father, and that's interesting. Jerno sees Lucian all wet with sweat and almost has a heart attack. Young master, to the hospital. Lucian is as calm as possible. No, it's just that I haven't ridden a horse for a long time. The funniest excuse after experiencing the ritual. They arrive at the magic Ludion bank, and then a blue thread of fate appears. Lucian already knows these mechanics. Such a thread appears when there is an event ahead that can change the plot. He leaves the bank. The thread disappears. He comes in again. Appears again. Our guy understands right away. Yeah, so the plot is going to surprise me today. And instead of leaving, he does what all good guys do. He goes towards the problems himself. Jerno shows the coat of arms of Cronius. The bank's employees instantly transform from, "Who are you anyway?" in, "Please forgive us. The power of the aristocracy works better than any pass." According to Russell's instructions, Lucian files the documents as a substitute recipient. The recipient is Russell Paul. The item is box number 14. Russell smiles mysteriously. It's the only such thing in the world. Lucian is already mentally opening a loot box of legendary quality. An employee brings a heavy metal box. Our bro is already reaching out to her. And then, an alarm siren starts blaring throughout the bank. Even Russell is hanging out and gives out, "Robbers!" That is, literally at the moment of the opening of the legendary gift. The plot turns on the GTA mode. The chapter ends exactly on this cliffhanger. Iron shutters close the whole bank. Lucian isn't even surprised. Of course, the blue thread didn't just appear. Russell is absolutely thrilled. Who's robbing the magic bank anyway? It's like attacking the Pentagon with a kitchen knife. The problem is that for some reason the guards, the legendary bank mercenaries, are not visible at all. Everyone understands that some kind of murky scheme is going on. The enemies have a cheat. One of the robbers is a female magician. She calmly announces, "Don't move. This is my territory now." And all employees with guns are literally knocked out. Russell explains instantly, "It's a barrier mage. The thing is extremely nasty. As long as you stand inside her barrier, she's almost invincible." Truth, he notices one joint. The barrier is kind of unstable, so there is a weak spot. Meanwhile, Russell remembers, "By the way, open the box. I have set up such a protection that it can only be opened by darkness. Thanks for the advance warning." Our guy secretly releases the darkness into the box, and then Jerno turns around abruptly. "Young master, did something happen just now?" Lucian's heart starts to play drum and bass. Fortunately, the smoke had already disappeared. Jerno puts it all down to nerves. Russell laughs. "Don't worry about it. Black magic is much less noticeable than ordinary mana." Lucian mentally, "Could you have said that before I almost died?" And then the funny thing turns out. The leader announces the purpose of the robbery. They need it. A metal box. And it shows the dimensions. Lucian slowly looks at the box in his hands. Well, awesome. It turns out, in the original story, the box was supposed to be stolen today. That is, the blue thread did not lead him here by chance. The box opens inside. It's just a pair of feather-shaped earrings. Lucian and Russell put it on quickly. As soon as the earrings are in the ears, several things are happening at once. Earrings draw in some of the darkness. A tattoo in the form of a watch appears on the back of the palm. The blue thread, it's tearing up. Fate is officially receiving a critical blow. What kind of artifact is this anyway? Russell finally explains. It's a unique thing, the only one in the world. She shows it, how much negativity the warlock has accumulated. For an ordinary person, a tattoo looks like a watch. For Lucian, it is literally an indicator. A little more, and you will become a fallen one. That is, the master made the perfect safety device in advance. Our guy is happy. But, There is one rat. The same bank employee who brought the box instantly surrenders Lucien to the robbers. Here, he's got the box. Professional ethics? I didn't hear it. The main thing is to survive on your own. Lucien calmly memorizes his face, without emotion. He's just making a mental note. You're dead. A very calm person. Lucien's plan begins. The leader approaches. Young master, give me the box. Lucien does the most brazen thing possible. He drops the box on the floor, and imperceptibly commands the darkness. Stand still. Now the box is literally glued to the ground. The leader tries to lift her up. It doesn't work. It stands like a Mjolnir for the unworthy. Why all this? Lucien noticed one oddity. The barrier magician. It doesn't move at all. Not a step. While the others are running, our guy makes a conclusion. She guards the place where the barrier formula is hidden. That is, it is enough to make her leave, and the barrier will remain unprotected. That's why he specifically makes the box unaffordable, so that she could come over and see for herself. It's brilliant. Jurno is not sleeping either. While everyone is distracted, the knight has already figured out the place where the formula is hidden. Lucien calmly asks, "How much longer?" He smiles happily. "I've already found it." And the next second, bang, he stabs the sword into the floor, releases an aura. There is a sound like a huge glass dome bursting. Barrier, it breaks down. The barrier magician is literally... What? The robbers understand instantly. The plan failed. The leader grabs the box. He screams, "Retreat!" But Jurno is already at his side. The sword flies straight at the head. It would seem that everything, but the leader is still not new name. He deflects the blow with the dagger, and activates the smoke bomb. Disappears. Jurno doesn't have time to catch up. Why isn't the knight chasing? Lucien asks. You could have caught him. The answer is as chivalrous as possible. My job is to protect you. Don't chase criminals. The priority is the young master. Lucien is even a little disappointed. He wanted to question the leader, because now the main question remains open. Were they really after Russell's box, or is it a coincidence? Chapter finale. Sees only one person, the same employee, the same snitch. He's smiling, and with a very bad smile. The kind after which disturbing music usually turns on in anime. The rat has already signed his own sentence. Debriefing at the bank after the robbery, Lucien first interrogates the bank's management. How many metal boxes do you have in general? B, more than 50. That is, the ringleader actually grabbed his box by accident. Lucien is internally. Yes, sure, coincidence. We believe it. He's not buying this story for a second. The blue thread appeared for a reason. The earrings are saved. Fate is broken. Our guy is going over the events. In the original, he almost certainly had to lose Russell's gift, but now everything has gone the other way. Such is the fate. You should have lost, Lucien. Not today. Now he has a unique artifact, the only one in the world. Hours of negativity. For any warlock, it's almost a cheat code. The rat's verdict. Standing in front of Lucien are branch manager. The same employee as a snitch. They're both practically swimming in their own sweat. Especially the rat. Our guy is quietly drinking tea. Exactly calmly. Because a real aristocrat finishes his tea first. Then he ruins his career. Lucien speaks in an absolutely icy voice. I was thinking about what to do. The employee's soul is already leaving the chat. And then the phrase, the final boss of the nobility arrives. You didn't insult me. You sold it. The Cronia family. The room gets 20 degrees colder. The employee starts babbling excuses. Young master, I'm an accident. I am. Lucien doesn't even raise his voice. Shut your mouth. And everything. No slaps in the face. No more torture. No, I'm going to kill you. He just passes the case to the main office. Because his father would destroy this guy himself. Better than any punishment. Russell is already beaming. Here. This is my student. Our bro finally understood the power of an administrative resource. Even Jurno was blown away. The knight walks next to me and can't stand it. That was wise, because old Lucien would have already staged a bloody spectacle. The new Lucien simply issued the person a lifetime ban from the profession, and he did it as legally as possible. It's scarier. Returning home, our guy goes straight to Novio. But before that, he asks an important question to Russell. Is all this by any chance related to you? Type, maybe the master did something again 200 years ago. Russell shakes his head. No. Then they both realize one funny thing. They don't know much about each other at all. The teacher only knows, this guy hates ghosts fiercely. Lucien knows, this grandfather likes dramatic surprises too much. The best description of childhood. Lucien says, I just had a long puberty. Russell almost falls over. Bro, you've been psychologically destroyed by ghosts for more than 10 years. You look like a rabid wolf. And you name it, prolonged adolescence. This is Saitama's level of self-irony. Antonio is the best grandfather. The butler greets me at the door, and it literally glows. Young master, you came to the master yourself. This old man is happy. Lucien. Stop talking weird. Antonio. I would tell the whole country about it. Shortly. Grandfather is a fan of Lucien, and he doesn't hide it at all. And Novio? At first he thinks Carson has come. When he finds out it's Lucian, literally spits out tea. Yes, this is such an incredible event, because before, his youngest son almost never came to him on his own. And the sweetest thing, Novio's first question, not, why did you come, but is he even safe? Dad hides his feelings as badly as a tsundere from a romantic anime. Family conversation. Lucian comes in. He begins to officially apologize. Novio immediately interrupts. Stop it, we are father and son. Just come. Our guy even hangs out a little bit. He had never heard this before. Then Lucian talks in detail about the bank, about the robbery, about the employee, about betrayal, about everything. Novio is listening, and his face is getting darker by the minute. The regime is already waking up inside him. Blow the bank to hell. But he's holding back, because he wants to give his son the opportunity to solve the problem himself. The growth of the characters is mutual. Dad trusts. After the story, Novio says just one thing. If necessary, use my help. All. Without moralizing. Without, you're just a kid. Our guy is finally getting real trust. And then, Lucian asks, the family seal. Not money. Not security. Not the army. Print. Because one document with the Cronia coat of arms works more convincingly than 100 threats. Novio doesn't even think. He gives it away right away. And then an old acquaintance pops up. Novio speaks. Viscount Horion's sons are coming soon. Those idiots from the banquet. Apologies should be accepted. Lucian smiles. And it gives out absolute classics. The one whose ear I bit off. Isn't he a knight? Novio snorts. If the title can be bought with money, that's right, it's a knight. Shortly. The guy is a fake elite. Lucian is already making plans. Let him become my first opponent in sparring. Just delay the meeting a bit. Our bro is literally, let me level up, then I'll humiliate him officially. Novio laughs. Loudly. Very loud. Because for the first time he sees confidence in his son instead of hatred for the whole world. And he agrees. Good. I'll stall for time. Chapter finale. Lucian returns to his room. It turns out to be boring. I bought him flowers. And on purpose. Because he knows. The young gentleman doesn't even have a valet. Russell is touched. What a caring guy. Lucian instantly switches on the tsundere mode. I hate it when people fuss around me. Of course. We've already figured it out. Meanwhile, Journo is already running to complete the next task faster than the NPC after receiving the quest. The last scene. Lucian looks at Racho's flower. He takes one. And he says, let's start the experiment. It looks like we have another warlock test ahead of us, because if Lucian takes something with the words, I'll try one first, it almost always ends with either a new skill or a new disaster. After the experiment with the flower, our guy decides, well, it's time to test his immunity to the holy power. He takes Racho. Russell, stop. You're not going to. Lucian, I'm going to. And instead of carefully tasting the petal, he puts the whole flower in his mouth. Russell took critical damage. Are you crazy? They're eating it by the petals. Lucian, quietly chewing. It's getting late. In a couple of seconds, Russell is in a panic. Well, what do you feel? Our guy analyzes it as seriously as possible. It doesn't taste good. Like grass. It should be spiced. Russell, I'm not teaching a human being, I'm teaching natural disaster. But then the real effect begins. My nose is bleeding. Then he's literally vomiting black blood. Russell, spit it out. Puke. Save yourself. And Lucian stands absolutely calm. No, it's fine. Russell, is it okay? You're vomiting blood. The darkness inside you is dead. Lucian, it's more like a crepe after a workout. Tolerable. Russell, who am I messing with anyway? And then the scientist mode turns on. Lucian remembers the novel. The final boss once ate these flowers and gained light resistance. But the author, of course, did not bother to explain anything. The main character then found a diary with a method and burned it. Thanks a lot, bro. Now I have to conduct experiments on my own liver. Lucian makes a conclusion. The light really kills the darkness. That's why my father forbade priests to come near him. The main character cut down warlocks so easily because he is a bearer of light. Result. Immunity to light is necessary at any cost. Russell is still trying to be the voice of reason. Maybe? Shall we stop? Lucian, no. If I get caught as a warlock one day, the whole family will die. It's better to suffer now. Russell finally understands one thing. Lucian doesn't value his own health at all. If others suffer, he goes crazy. If he suffers himself, well, I'll be patient. That's what scares the old man the most. At this moment, Journo arrives. He brings the paper, but it stops. The room smells of blood. He immediately tenses up. Young master, what happened? Lucian instantly switches on NPC mode. Nothing, thanks. You can go now. Journo clearly doesn't believe it, especially after he notices the blood-stained cloak. But an order is an order. He leaves. The door closes. Russell continues to stare at Lucian as if he had just eaten Uranus. Our guy sits down at the table and begins to keep a journal of experiments. Date, the number of colors. Result, yes, now it's a full-fledged scientific work. Then he asks, how do you understand that the resistance is really growing? Russell sighs heavily. He understands. It's already impossible to stop this idiot. That's why he gives up. Okay, I'll be watching. If it gets really bad, I'll stop it. Lucien is happy. There is official permission to continue. In 5 seconds, Lucien, the master, can I have another one right now? The room is getting colder. Russell literally starts to glow with rage. He can barely resist saying, yes, you are completely beaten up. Meanwhile, in another place moving on to the new heroine, Tella Lution, the third daughter of a family that owns a magic bank, receives an email from Lucien Cronia. The first reaction, what? She expected threats, curses, and madness. Instead, he receives a perfectly polite letter. The essence is this: an unpleasant incident has occurred at your bank. I believe that you will be able to judge him fairly, without shouting, without threats, without, I'll burn down your bank. Tella reads the letter several times. Is this even the same Lucien? It turns out that she has her own problems. She's the youngest of the sisters. The elders are already managing the branches, and once she failed a responsible task and lost the chance to become an heiress. Now Lucien's letter looks like a real quest. If she can handle this case on her own, he can regain his position. Therefore, Tella immediately makes a decision. Get ready. We're going to the Cronia family. Let's get back to ours. Russell asks, why did you write specifically to your third daughter? Why not the head of the family, and not even the eldest heiress? Lucien smiles mysteriously. Our guy has obviously already calculated something 10 moves ahead, like the real Eisen, but without the pretentious bangs. Bang. And our bro finally starts playing for a long time, and not just destroying everything. Chapter in a nutshell. Lucien gathers his future allies, gains immunity to the light, and begins to behave like a real aristocratic schemer. The $1 million plan, Russell asks. Bro, why did you write to the third daughter of the Lutons at all? There's the mother, there's the eldest heiress. Lucien is like that, because the big shots will apologize at most and disperse, and I need not an apology. I need it, 1 spoonful. Russell is generally hanging out. What kind of spoon? This is the local version. While someone is building a career, I will carefully help him, and then we will both be in the black. That is, our guy is going to invest in a man who is not yet at the top, but will definitely get there. A real investor in NPCs, and then therapy begins. But it's very specific. Lucien says, the mood is bad. I'm going to mock the ghosts. Russell, just don't destroy them. We'll need them again. Lucien, don't worry. I'll play with them first. Then I'll let you go to heaven. Even Russell couldn't find the words. A few days later, every morning it looks something like this. I ate a piece of racho, vomited blood. I went out into the sun. The skin burns again. I put another X in my diary. Failure. Our bro is literally conducting forbidden medical experiments on himself. Russell is almost gray-haired now. If only ghosts had hair. He checks. How are you feeling? Lucien, great. Only the blood is flowing. Otherwise, everything is fine. Russell, will I ever outlive him? But Lucien doesn't give up. He talks calmly. Light kills warlocks. The main character is a light user. It means, greater than I'll just stop dying from the light. Level logic. If the poison kills, we will eat it every day. Workout number 2. Now Russell switches to a new torture. Stop eating flowers. Drive the darkness faster. Because right now, Lucien is controlling the darkness like a beginner in the game. While casting, the opponent has already managed to get married, raise children, and die. How does black magic swing? Very simple. Chasing the darkness, you're driving again, one more time, until the brain starts to melt. Black magic doesn't swing with muscles. She's rocking mental stamina. In fact, it's like endlessly training your reaction in an anime until your brain says, Master, can I die already? Our bro is already progressing. There's more darkness now. He already knows how. Making a whip, change direction abruptly, attack the ghosts, miss on purpose. The ghosts, triple AA. He started again, and they run away like extras from some solo leveling when the main character gets new skills. Russell is still unhappy. The speed is dropping. The darkness is boring. She's complaining. Yes, even the darkness itself is already like this. Master, can I skip these pauses? Lucien tries to justify himself. I was checking the progress. Russell, no one will wait in battle. Lucien, fair enough, but there is one problem. Train to walk and control the darkness at the same time. This is a separate kind of masochism. Yesterday, he crashed into a tree, got bruises, smashed his head in. Blood started flowing, he repeats it again today, because otherwise he won't learn. The current mode, Dark Souls plus walking training at the same time. And finally, Tella Lution arrives. This is where the real political arc begins. Who is she anyway? No one yet, but after a few years she will become the head of the Lution family. It is she who will raise the magic pot to the top 3 of the entire empire. In the novel, she was mentioned in just a couple of lines. But Lucian already knows her future. Therefore he thinks, while everyone is looking at the current leaders, I will invest in the future winner. A real investor before the advent of venture funds. The first meeting, Tella enters and freezes. This wasn't the rumored psychopath standing in front of her, but he's very calm, very polite, almost a shy guy. Russell is just dying of laughter next to me. Ha ha ha, look at you. I almost caught ghostly goosebumps. Lucian pretends not to hear, because the mode is on now. A normal aristocrat. Tella sincerely apologizes for the incident at the bank, and Lucian immediately indicates the position. I don't need a scandal, but I'm not going to pretend that nothing happened either. It's a very mature move. No hysteria, no threats. And then Lucian begins his main performance. He looks away, embarrassed. He scratches his neck. He speaks softly. I chose you, because you're my age. Tell me, huh? He continues even more awkwardly. It was difficult for me to address people, because of the way I used to be. I've been thinking, maybe, could we be friends? At this moment, a blue thread of fate appears. Means, he made the right choice again. Tella can't stand it and starts laughing. Not because he's mocking me, but because all the fear just disappeared. She understands, this is not a crazy monster in front of her. The one in front of her is very strange, but a sincere guy who is trying to start life anew. And she holds out her hand. Let's be friends? Our bro gets more than just an acquaintance. He gets the future head of one of the strongest magic banks in the empire. And judging by the broken blue thread, fate just rewrote again. Our guy is finally consolidating his success with Tella. After shaking hands, a real miracle happens. The blue thread of fate that bound them is cut and turns into red. That is, Lucian did not just change the future, but literally rewrote it. It seems that these strange hints about red threads really work. But then it gets even more interesting. Tella suddenly says that she feels awkward. In her opinion, she was the only one who benefited from this meeting, and she did not give anything in return. After some thought, she makes an offer that Lucian did not expect at all. She promises to personally help him get rid of all the rumors that he is crazy. And then Lucian himself is surprised. Bro was only hoping to nudge the future head of the Lution family in the right direction, and then enjoy the fruits of her success. And he got a sincere ally, who decided to take his side. Tella honestly admits that at first she also considered him dangerous. She thought the letter was just a clever excuse to make fun of her. Russell even agrees mentally. To be honest, the plan really started that way. But now Tella sees a completely different person in front of her. She understands that all the rumors were lies, and sincerely wants to correct her mistake. Our boyfriend thanks her, although inside he doesn't know how to react at all. For a person who hasn't had much contact with anyone for years, such kindness turns out to be stronger than any magic. Then Tella notices that Lucian looks too pale. Of course, she doesn't want to talk about it directly, so she comes up with a beautiful excuse. They say she urgently needs to return home. Russell gets it right away. She just noticed that you're barely alive right now. Tella says goodbye, promises to bring something delicious next time, and leaves. As soon as the door closes, Lucian instantly relaxes. He unbuttons his collar, ruffles his hair, and begins to breathe deeply. Bro has survived ghost attacks, calmly eats flowers of light that make him vomit blood, but an ordinary conversation with a girl knocks him out more than any boss. He looks at his trembling hands and repeats in his mind, people, they're not ghosts at all. Meanwhile, Tella goes home and discusses the meeting with her maid. She immediately asks if Lucian is really as crazy as they say he is, but Tella just smiles. Not at all. All these rumors are complete nonsense. After a moment's thought, she suddenly compares him to a stray kitten. And not just as a kitten, but as an injured one. She is sure that Lucian was incredibly nervous and mustered all his courage just to ask someone to be his friend for the first time. After that, she decides to immediately talk to her mother about what happened, and our guy doesn't have time to rest at all. Russell suggests asking Carson to reschedule the training, but Lucian immediately refuses. He puts on his favorite hooded cape. He feels almost naked without it, and heads to the second training field. Carson and Jerno are already waiting for him there. Lucian politely greets his brother, thinking that sword training is about to begin. Carson looks at him for about 5 seconds and gives the greatest instruction of the century. Run. Our guy doesn't understand what's going on at first. A huge training field in front of him. No sword, no techniques. But it's useless to argue. He starts running, runs half a circle. This? Endurance test? Russell makes the most surprised face. Who told you that? Just run, and the real death marathon begins. 1 lap, second, third, fifth. Sweat is already pouring down. Lucian is tearing off his hood, and Carson is not going to say the cherished stop at all. but Russell gets high from what's happening. He states that a strong mind is impossible without a strong body, and it is best to train to control the darkness precisely when the body is completely exhausted. Bro literally turned into a coach from hell. Lucian is mentally ready to strangle his own teacher, but he continues to run, because she remembers what she's doing it all for. He needs strength. He needed to defeat Viscount Horion and prevent his fate from falling into the abyss again. Finally, Carson says, "Stop," and Lucian immediately falls face forward. It just turns off. But this turns out to be just the beginning. Carson calmly explains that now there will be such runs every day. Until Lucian can safely withstand such a load, he won't even see any sword. It's only now that our guy realizes that his brother wasn't going to teach him the technique from the very beginning. First, he's going to turn his body into a normal human weapon. Lucius wants to protest, but he has no choice. He agrees. When Carson leaves, he even allows himself a barely noticeable smile. He was finally convinced that his younger brother was really serious. But Lucius is only dreaming of rest again. At night, Russell begins the second part of the training. Now we need to learn how to control the darkness even more precisely. During the day, you can control it while driving. At night, hold objects for a strictly defined number of seconds. Russell explains that real black magic must work at lightning speed. Used, disappeared. No one even had time to figure out what had happened. For the first workout, he orders the chair to be lifted. Lucian has a hard time getting the darkness to follow the command. My head is literally splitting after an exhausting run. The chair rises. 5 seconds. Bang. He falls back to the floor. Russell explains that now Lucius needs to learn how to precisely control the duration of magic and give multiple orders at the same time. In fact, this is the equivalent of a double and triple spell for ordinary magicians. Lucian gives the command to lift the chair again, and then the unexpected happens. Instead of the usual silent submission, he suddenly hears the displeased voice of the darkness itself. "I don't want to. Our guy is just hanging out." It looked like his magic had just decided to start arguing with his master. In short, our guy is starting to have some kind of new level of warlock leveling. Lucian is going to practice holding the darkness and picks up a chair, and then suddenly darkness, he starts talking. Not Russell, not a ghost, it is the darkness. She's literally whining. "I don't want to, I'm bored." Lucian wakes up instantly, and then an even stranger thing happens. A red thread appears that connects him to this darkness. Even Russell is in complete shock. Bro, who has studied black magic all his life, now just freezes like a Windows XP computer. He begins to frantically recall the theory. Usually the scheme is simple. You're giving an order. The darkness performs. You turn off the darkness. But Lucian's, there has never been a third point at all. And then Russell gets a terrible thought. Perhaps Lucian had never ruled the darkness. Maybe it was the darkness that voluntarily obeyed him. For a warlock, this is so abnormal that Russell almost has a stroke. He quickly tells Lucius to focus and explains. It looks like he's looking at an analog of a divine beast. Just not light, like the priests, but dark. Our guy, of course, is awesome. I'm actually a warlock. But there is no choice. The darkness continues to act up, and asks to return everything as before. Russell says the only thing that comes to his mind. You need to choose a uniform and give it a name. Lucian doesn't think for a long time. Once upon a time, a fox is depicted on the coat of arms of the Cronia family. Come here, Rada. And then the red thread breaks. Black smoke gathers into a small fluffy fox cub with blue eyes. And the first thing a new pet does, he starts admiring his own paws. Bro was literally born 5 seconds ago and is already happy that he can walk. Russell looks at this and doesn't know how to react at all. He was expecting some kind of legendary 9-tailed monster, but he got a little black fox cub. Meanwhile, Rada calmly declares that he has always been by Lucian's side. Didn't show up now. He wasn't called up. I was literally born with him, and it was he who kept Lucian from falling into darkness all these years. Lucian himself is already freaking out. All those voices he'd heard when he'd been haunted, it wasn't a hallucination. It was Rada who encouraged him and did not let him completely break down. It turns out that our guy had been living next to his own reasonable piece of darkness for 10 years and didn't even know about it. Russell finally realizes that in front of him is a walking violation of all the laws of black magic. Lucian is trying to figure out why this fox is needed at all. And that's where it gets even more interesting. It turns out that their darkness is common. That is, Rada is able to independently control Lucian's power. Simply put, our guy just got his own co-pilot. Lucian immediately decides to check it out. 7 seconds. Rada happily agrees. Lucian lifts the chair with the power of darkness. The fox cub controls the time, and everything works perfectly. But it's at this moment that Russell suddenly screams, "Catch a chair!" Lucian automatically grabs him, and the door of the room swings open. Novio and Carson burst in. They felt a powerful surge of some unknown force and immediately ran to check if the youngest son was alive. While Lucian is trying to figure out what's going on, The chair falls right on his head, the perfect first impression. Novio immediately rushes to his son. Carson looks around the room carefully. Both admit that they felt such a cold and terrible force that they had never felt before. Russell quickly explains to Lucien that a huge amount of darkness was released at the birth of Rata. It was impossible to hide such a wave. And now the most dangerous thing begins. Carson notices a black fox cub hiding behind Lucien's leg. For the Cronia family, the fox is a symbol of the family. But the black fox, this already looks like a very bad omen. Carson looks directly at the animal and coldly asks, "Lucien, where did this fox come from?" After the appearance of Rata, Lucien's life becomes even crazier. During another training session, Darkness suddenly declares, "I don't want to, I'm bored." Our guy wakes up instantly, and then something like, "It wasn't in the script" begins. A red thread appears around him, and the darkness itself begins to take the form of a living being. Even Russell, who has studied black magic all his life, literally falls into a stupor. It turns out that he had never seen such a thing. The more he thinks about it, the scarier the conclusion becomes. Lucien's darkness does not require constant monitoring at all. Instead of ordinary magic, it's more like a human's relationship with a divine beast, only on the contrary, dark. Russell realizes that the situation is unique, and tells Lucius to choose a shape for the creature and give it a name. Our guy doesn't think for a long time. The coat of arms of the Cronia family depicts a fox, which means there will be a fox. "Come here, Rata." The red thread immediately breaks, the smoke clears, and a small black fox cub with blue eyes appears in front of them. But instead of a majestic sacred beast, it turns out to be literally a black fluffy potato on 4 paws. Russell looks at him with the face of a man who expected a dragon and got a kitten. Rata himself is generally happy. "I have paws, real paws." Then it gets even more interesting. Rata claims to have existed since Lucien was born. All these years, it was he who kept the master from turning into a fallen warlock. When Lucien heard strange voices telling him to hold on, they weren't hallucinations at all. That's what Rata said all the time. Bro literally worked as a personal psychologist for free for 10 years. The most pleasant discovery comes a little later. Rata can control Lucien's darkness. Not completely, but to help her follow orders. In fact, our guy gets a built-in assistant who takes over some of the control. They immediately conduct an experiment. Lucien orders the chair to be lifted, and Rata is responsible for holding it. The chair is perfectly suspended in the air for exactly 7 seconds. It is at this moment that the door opens. Novio and Carson enter the room. Russell screams in panic to grab a chair. Lucien automatically catches him, with my own head. The chair crashes into his forehead. The rat is beeping. Russell is almost dying of laughter. My father and brother don't understand what's going on here at all. They only felt a huge surge of unknown force and rushed over to check on Lucien. Their attention quickly turns to the black fox cub. Carson immediately asks, "Where is he from?" Lucien answers as calmly as possible, "I picked it up." Rata immediately begins to resent that he is actually not a fox, but fortunately only Lucien hears him. Novio allows him to leave the animal and then leaves with Carson without finding out the reason for the strange energy. After that, Russell finally explains the main bonus. Rata and Lucien literally share the same darkness. The stronger one gets, the faster the other develops. Moreover, Rata helps the new darkness adapt almost instantly. To put it simply, our guy just got a cheat code for leveling up. The next morning, the real pain begins. After yesterday's training, Lucien can barely get out of bed. Everything hurts. Even moving is hard, but no one canceled the training. Rata, meanwhile, behaves like a child who is interested in absolutely everything. Why do people close their eyes at night? Why does Lucien stumble all the time? Why is Racho flower so scary? When Lucien takes out a poisonous plant to boost his resistance again, Rata goes into a real panic. "Don't eat, it's caca." But our guy is already swallowing the poison. After a few seconds, he starts vomiting blood as usual. Rata is terrified. Russell just sighs with relief. The poison is not transmitted to the fox cub. After that, the butler Antonio appears. No anonymous curses this time. He receives a real letter from Tella Lution. And here, for the first time in a long time, Lucien is pleasantly surprised. Tella writes that thanks to him, she got an important opportunity and also publicly told everyone at the banquet that they were friends. That is, the girl did not just agree to be friends, but already began to protect his reputation. At the end of the letter, she invites Lucien to accompany her to a banquet in honor of the birth of the divine beast. It's at this point that Russell literally jumps up. "Don't tell me you're going to the banquet." It looks like our guy has another nerve test ahead of him. Not only because of the nobles, but also because now a small talking black fox is constantly running around next to him, which it is advisable not to show anyone. Lucien receives a letter from Tella inviting him to a huge banquet in honor of the birth of the divine beast. And that's where our guy's eyes literally light up. Bro understands that this is not just a holiday with expensive food, It's the perfect scene to shut up everyone who's been making a local horror story out of him for the past few months. But Russell immediately starts to panic. In fact, grandfather says, "Do you even know where you're going? There will be so much holy power that you can collapse faster than a first-level mob." However, Lucian doesn't even think about backing down. He calmly declares that he will simply increase the dose of his poisonous flower and survive. After the incident with the bank, he finally realized how far the rumors had gone. People don't even try to figure out what happened. For them, he is already a ready-made monster. And then Lucian gives out one of the most powerful phrases. He says he wants to be happy too. He doesn't want to lose the normal life he just started getting again. Even Russell stops arguing after that. The old man just gives up and says, "Okay, try." But it immediately reminds me of the main boss. Getting permission from Novio will be more difficult than completing a secret boss raid without a healer. During the family dinner, Lucian cautiously starts talking about the banquet and gets an instant response. No discussion. Carson also fully supports his father. These two now literally look like two final bosses who have closed the passage further. Russell is completely fading away. Yes, this is not a father and son, but an impregnable fortress. Meanwhile, Rada is generally living his life. The fox cub was forbidden to enter the dining room, so this little genius is just hiding in Lucian's shadow. Bro literally opens stealth mode like a real ninja, and then he starts whining that he's interested in tasting meat. Our guy discreetly drops a piece under the table. Rada is happy as if he has received a legendary artifact, but Novio continues to stand his ground. He asks, "Why do you want to come to this banquet so much?" And that's where Lucian gets his trump card. He talks about what happened at the bank. It turns out that the employee knew perfectly well that in front of him was the heir of the Kronia family, and he turned him over to the bandits anyway, because the rumors have done their job. Everyone around them already thinks Lucian is a cursed monster. It turns out to be the most difficult moment. Bro calmly eats pasta and at the same time explains that he has already been so demonized that people are ready to get rid of him at the first opportunity. Even Novio freezes after that. Russell just clicks his tongue. That's it. This is a forbidden technique. When Novio asks why Lucian didn't say anything right away, he calmly replies, "Because you would just destroy the Ludion family." And the funny thing is, everyone understands that this is not an exaggeration at all. After a long pause, Novio finally says, "Okay, go ahead." Carson is in complete shock. Russell is actually clutching his head. "Are you serious? There's so much holy power there that it can vaporize a kid." But the decision has already been made. For the first time, Lucian changes his father's mind in his own words. A small victory, but a very important one. After that, the real training hell begins. Journo literally turns into a sergeant from a military camp. Running again, even more running. Lucian is already breathing as if his lungs have decided to go on vacation, and Rada is joyfully galloping ahead. The little fox does not understand what fatigue is at all. At some point, he hears Lucian's heart pounding and begins to rejoice. Even faster. Let it beat even faster. Russell responds immediately. Then he'll die. Rada gets scared right away. Then don't let him fight at all. Then he'll die too. Bro literally took his first biology lesson. After physical training, the second circle of hell begins. Now Lucian controls the darkness for hours. Then he plays catch-up with the ghosts. Yes. Russell deliberately releases the terrified spirit, and Lucian must catch him before he escapes. In fact, his grandfather gave him dark souls, but instead of knights, you need to catch ghosts. Each time, Lucian almost grabs the prey, and every time, literally a couple of centimeters are missing. And in the evening, Russell's favorite torture begins, lifting furniture with the power of darkness. 3 seconds, 5 seconds, 7 seconds. Are you at least 1 second late? Get a lecture for 10 minutes. When Lucian and Rada finally manage to hold the chair perfectly, Russell beams like a child. Great, now let's move on to the desk. Lucian just falls to the floor. Bro doesn't even argue anymore. A few days pass like this. Every morning begins with Lucian eating his favorite poison. Rada throws a tantrum every morning. Don't eat that. Every day, Journo makes him run faster. Every day, Russell wakes him up with the words, "There are only 50 repetitions left." And one day, Lucian gets so exhausted that he begins to control the darkness, right in my sleep. Russell gets scared at first. Then he realizes that the student is actually using magic without waking up, and he is absolutely delighted. Our guy is literally pumping up a passive skill. 5 days pass. Lucian is already noticeably getting faster. Almost catches ghosts. Rada is an ideal way to control the darkness. Their teamwork becomes so well coordinated that they work like two players, ideally closing a raid. In short, the synergy is almost at the level of Ultra Instinct. And then one morning, Lucian habitually comes to practice and sees a full training room. He doesn't understand what's going on at all. Journo comes out to meet him and asks in surprise, "Young master, why did you come at all?" It turns out that yesterday Carson canceled training and gave him the day off. Our guy was just so tired over the last few days that he completely forgot about it. Russell looks at him with the face of a man who has just seen a legend. Why are you looking at me? I didn't forget anything to you. Even Rada starts making excuses. Rada didn't hear it either. Lucian just sighs heavily, but he quickly realizes that once he has free time, it's time to do something else. Bro turns around and goes to the city. It seemed like it was time to prepare for the most important banquet of his new life. After a few days of training, Journo notices that Lucian is gone again. The knight just sighs heavily. Our guy still talks to himself sometimes, or rather to Russell, whom no one sees. From the outside, it looks as creepy as possible, so strangers still find it strange. But Journo has known the truth for a long time, and is only happy. Compared to what Lucian used to be, now it's heaven and earth in general. Meanwhile, the other knights begin to discuss their younger master. One is worried that they accidentally scared him. The other even admits that for a long time he did not understand how to talk to him. In short, grown men behave as if they have seen a rare Pokemon, but Journo quickly brings everyone back to reality. He recalls a recent incident when an unknown force appeared near Lucian's room. The whole room immediately falls silent. After all, if someone was able to get so close to the heir of Cronius, it means that their security gave a huge crack. And then the knights all start shouting their motto, "We are the swords of Cronius." After that, they rush to run with such enthusiasm, as if the war starts tomorrow. Meanwhile, our guy finally gets a well-deserved day off. Well, almost. Instead of resting, Lucian puts on a raincoat and goes to the city. Russell immediately asks, "Where are you going?" Lucian responds as calmly as possible. He needs to buy more rachos before the flowers fade. After all, without this poisonous herb, he literally would not be able to resist the holy power. Russell immediately suggests just asking for the servants, but Lucian refuses. Bro doesn't trust anyone at all. Any request will reach Novio immediately, and he doesn't need any unnecessary questions right now. At this moment, Rada appears. Hearing the word Racho, the little fox immediately panics. "Lucian, don't walk towards death." It looks like Russell has already filled the kid's head with his horror stories. Lucian just rolls his eyes. "Teacher, stop teaching the child all sorts of nonsense." Russell pretends he has nothing to do with it. Rada reluctantly hides in the shadow of the Lucifer, continuing to show with her whole appearance how much she hates this flower. On the way, Russell suddenly remembers the news about Viscount Horion. It turns out that after that legendary ear bite, his son now has hearing problems. Our guy just smiles contentedly. Karma sometimes works faster than the judicial system. But then it gets more interesting. When Lucian leaves the estate, Russell suddenly asks to turn off the main road, because there's an ambush on the right, and it's not simple. There are so many bandits there that they are clearly waiting for someone in particular. Our guy understands everything right away. It seems that Viscount Horion was so offended that he decided to make a second attempt. But then Lucian has an even more unpleasant thought. If the bandits know when he's leaving, so there's a rat inside the mansion again. Bro immediately remembers the old betrayal of the servants, because of which he stopped trusting anyone at all. The mood drops sharply. Darkness is even beginning to seep in around him. Russell erases it instantly. "Calm down, you're a warlock now. Any emotion can give you away." Lucian just exhales heavily. For the first time, he realizes how uncomfortable it is to constantly hide his strength. Having bought Racho, Lucian is about to leave. Suddenly he notices two very familiar types, and then our guy literally turns on detective mode. If you put masks on them, they're the same idiots who tried to rob the magic bank. Russell recognizes them right away too. Rata doesn't understand anything at all. Who are the bastards? But Lucian is already smiling, and with that smile, after which someone usually starts having big problems. He asks Russell to use the ghost's main advantage, eavesdrop on the conversation, free wiretapping without any bugs. This is a real cheat. Lucian himself follows slowly, so as not to lose touch with the teacher. Meanwhile, Rada is completely oblivious to the task. The little fox was in the city for the first time, and now admires literally everything. Oh, people. Bro behaves like a child who has been brought to an amusement park for the first time. After a while, Russell returns with the results, and it turns out that these two are not ordinary bandits at all. They are mercenaries. After the failure of the last task, they are deeply in debt and are ready to rob the magic bank again just to get the money. Lucian immediately asks the most important thing. "What are their names?" Russell answers, "Helon and Stra." And that's where our guy literally puts the whole puzzle together. These names were in the novel. The usual extras, but something else is much more important. Their boss. Crown Zell, the leader of the mysterious organization, the Third Force. Almost no one knows anything about these guys. They work in the shadows, do dirty jobs, and obey no one. And then Lucian understands. And why even look for people from scratch? You can simply buy a ready-made organization, When Russell understands what the student is thinking, he is not even surprised. "You're going to hire them, aren't you?" Lucian nods calmly. "What do I have besides money?" And it's hard to argue. Our guy is the son of one of the most influential people in the Empire. He hadn't spent much for years, so he had enough money to build his own team. And right now his new plan is being born. Don't just get stronger, and create your own power. One that doesn't belong to the Cronia family. One that would help hide his black magic. One that will one day be able to deceive the whole world. Bro finally stops just surviving. Now he's starting to build his own empire. Lucian is about to go out to the robbers, but Russell immediately slows him down. In his opinion, this is generally the idea of the die of your own accord level. Like, bro, you're the son of one of the richest families in the Empire. If you wanted people, you just threw a bag of money and a queue of elite fighters would line up for you. But our guy just calmly replies that he understands this perfectly well. There's just one problem he doesn't talk about out loud. All the strongest people in this world literally hate the dark. And considering that Lucian is a warlock himself, keeping such allies around is like voluntarily settling next to an atomic bomb. Therefore, he needs completely different people. Russell doesn't understand at all why his student decided to contact some bandits, but Lucian just shrugs it off, calling it all his whim. After that, he buys the cheapest mask with stars from the first merchant he finds. It looks like it was drawn by a child in 5 minutes, but our guy doesn't care at all. The main thing is to hide your face, because if someone recognizes Lucian Cronia in him, the whole plan will instantly fall apart. He approaches those two types, and without any preludes, gives out a phrase that would make any normal person tense up. "Do you need money?" And then immediately finishes it off. "I have a lot of them." In fact, now some suspicious guy in a raincoat and a crooked mask is offering a lot of money to strangers. This is no longer a deal, but the beginning of any scam movie. Helen, as it turned out, doesn't know how to keep her mouth shut at all. He had already managed to tell the stranger where they lived and how bad everything was with them. Straw immediately realizes that some kind of game is going on. She literally starts interrogating Lucian. Who is he? How does he know about their problems? Why did you decide to help them at all? But Lucian responds as calmly as possible. "Yes, I know you." Even Russell laughs at that answer, because technically it's true, but he doesn't know them personally, but as characters in a novel. Then Lucian finally breaks their pattern. He offers to quit his job as a mercenary and go to work for him. Helen immediately runs after his leader. And here comes the man Lucian has been looking for all this time, Crown Zell. As soon as he enters the room, a blue thread of fate appears, and our guy is finally convinced that it is the future head of the Third Force organization in front of him. And now this is a real jackpot, because now Lucian is facing a man who will create an organization in the future that entire states will take into account. And so far this future monster has only 2 subordinates. It turns out that Lucian is literally buying a startup before it becomes a corporation. Straw continues to suspect a trick, and frankly it's hard to blame her. An unknown teenager in a mask comes to them, promises a lot of money and offers to completely change their lives. Anyone would have thought they were going to have their kidneys cut out. But Crown understands one simple thing. They no longer have a choice. So he agrees to talk. When the two of them are alone, Lucian immediately puts his cards on the table. He needs his own organization. Not my father's army, not the people of the Cronia family, and a power that would belong only to him. He offers Crown to remain the leader. Lucian himself is almost not going to interfere. Let the organization develop independently. But there is one main rule. When the boss gives the order, it is executed without question. In fact, Crown becomes CEO, and Lucian becomes the silent owner of the company. After that, the conversation about money begins. Crown immediately lays out the amount owed. 100,000 cases. Russell almost falls over. How did 3 people get into this mess? And Lucian? Disappointed. He had expected a much higher amount. It's literally pocket money for him. He agrees to pay the entire debt without hesitation. And then, for the first time, Crown begins to realize that this is not some random rich guy. This man is really capable of buying their freedom. At that moment, Russell notices Crown's black ring, and immediately everything becomes clear. These are not ordinary debts. In front of them is an illegal slave. It turns out that all their debts are just the price of a ransom. Our guy is literally buying out the future leader of one of the strongest organizations in the world, the investment of the century. But Lucian is still the son of an aristocrat. That's why he doesn't give away money for nothing. First, he takes out the gems as an advance, and then suddenly pulls out the contract. And that's where the real financial terror begins. If you betray me, you repay the debt 3 times, plus 30% per month. And if you don't pay on time, the interest will continue to rise every year. Even Russell looks at these conditions with an expression on his face. Bro, are you sure you're not a demon of bank lending? Crown is completely speechless, but he still has no choice. He signs the contract. And he also signs for Helen and Stroya. Lucien specifically leaves a minimum of loopholes. He's clearly not going to let his future subordinates disappear immediately after receiving the money. When the deal is almost done, Lucien finally turns to Russell. Now we can start the next stage. Our guy calculated everything a long time ago. Since they are located near an old hotel full of wheat ghosts, it means this is the perfect place for a new training session. Russell immediately understands the student's intention and is even a little surprised. Lucien used to just follow orders, and now he himself prepares the ideal conditions for training in advance. In fact, bro begins to think like a real warlock. So Russell, without further ado, pulls the awesome Ratu out of the shadows. He catches the first ghost he sees, and announces the beginning of the training of new magic. It's time to master ghost control. Now Lucien will have not only darkness in his arsenal, but also the most terrifying specialization of all warlocks. Bro, it looks like our guy is finally starting to discover the real warlock chips. And the first thing he learns is that ghosts can be controlled in two ways. Either you negotiate with them in a human way through a contract, or you just break their will. And the second option is the pure path of the villain, because for such jokes, the darkness begins to accrue you with a lot of negativity. To show the difference, Russell doesn't stand on ceremony at all. He grabs the poor ghost by the neck so abruptly that the grandfather is already mentally starting to write a will. The man is shaking like an aspen leaf and generally forgets that he is being seen by a living person. Sir. Why? But Russell immediately shows who the real teacher is here. He explains to Lucius that everything depends on agreement. If the ghost wants to make a contract himself, no problem. But if you force him, then don't be surprised when the darkness itself starts charging you. And then the story of this old man is revealed. Turns out he's not some kind of vengeful spirit at all. Everything is much sadder. The man simply couldn't leave after his death, because his daughter now runs the hotel. He just wants to keep an eye on her to make sure she's okay. Honestly, even the atmosphere changes dramatically at this moment. Instead of an evil ghost, we have an ordinary father who is still worried about his child. Bro, this is already a blow to the feelings. Russell is not going to send him to another world. Conversely, he offers his grandfather to sign a contract with Lucien. In fact, any other warlock can no longer just banish him. And Lucien immediately realizes how much of an imbecile ability this is. After all, if a ghost agrees to cooperate, he becomes an ideal scout. People don't see him. He calmly walks through walls, listens to conversations, and can collect any information. Our guy literally gets a free intelligence agent. Russell explains the mechanics as calmly as possible. Just share your darkness with him. At first, Lucien doesn't understand how it works at all. He's even surprised. What do you mean, share? Was it possible? Russell just smiles. If light can heal people, then why can't darkness be shared? It's just that she will stay quietly inside the ghost until the owner gives the order. In short, Lucien literally puts a magic mark on the ghost. Our guy releases the darkness, directs it directly at the old man, and everything goes fine at first. And then it's like an electric shock hits him. Other people's memories suddenly flash before my eyes. He sees how this father looks at his daughter. She sees how much he loves her, how he dreams of walking her down the aisle one day. As he realizes that he will never be able to take her hand again. Bro, this is where the author decided to finish off the readers altogether. Lucien even loses his composure for a second. Meanwhile, the contract is being finalized. The darkness completely envelops the ghost, after which a black star appears on his arm. Now this is our guy's first official ghost agent. Grandfather immediately becomes as serious as possible. Mr. Lucien, give me orders. And Lucien doesn't waste any time at all. He immediately sends a new employee on the first mission. Keep an eye on Crown, Halon, and Stroy. If anyone starts stirring up trouble or saying something suspicious, let them know right away. It turns out a funny situation. Grandfather was just worried about his daughter a minute ago, and now he's already working in intelligence. That's what they call a quick career change. After that, Lucien remembers another problem. How do you get involved with a ghost? Russell is already going to explain a complex system, but then Rada intervenes. This furry bro shows again that he's actually reading the script ahead of time. He just starts talking in his own way, and just a second later, a ghostly hand appears from the wall. Everyone in the room is hanging out. Even Russell is like that. Wait a minute, did it really work? Lucien immediately decides not to complicate life. In order not to get confused later, he simply assigns his new assistant number 1. Yes, now he has a personal ghost under the number. The organization is gradually starting to turn into a real special squad, but no one is going to live in peace. The door opens. Crown returns. He looks like he's just been forced to go through 10 rounds of bureaucratic hell. He brings all the signatures and says that he has fulfilled the condition. Now it's Lucien's turn. Our guy immediately issues the first rule of the new organization. Never try to find out who I am. Very logical. If someone starts digging into his identity, Lucian will immediately consider it a betrayal. Crown calmly agrees. But Lucian doesn't stop there. He pauses. Russell suddenly gets nervous. Bro literally understands that something is about to be said that can no longer be undone. He's trying to stop Lucian. Think carefully. But our guy has already decided everything. He takes a deep breath. He looks directly at Crown, and in an absolutely calm voice he says, "I'm a warlock. Everything is already hanging here." Crown turns into a statue. The air seems to stop moving. Russell closes his eyes with the expression of a man who has just seen someone voluntarily press a big red button labeled, "Do not press." And Lucian. It stands absolutely calm, as if he just told me what the weather was like today. It is from this moment that the game goes to a completely different level. Crown just freezes. Bro literally caught the blue screen of death. He looks at Lucian as if the final boss himself has just confessed his love in front of him. And Russell is already mentally preparing for the fact that now everything is going to fall into the abyss. He closes his eyes in advance because he knows perfectly well how people usually react to warlocks. But something is happening that no one expected. The contract that was just concluded suddenly breaks the blue thread. Click. And everything. Lucian realizes that Crown has accepted his words after all. Not because he believed it, not because he liked it, because there's no turning back now. The next day, our guy goes to the bank first thing, and here the author decided to brag a little about the aristocracy. Lucian is quietly taking off 40,000 cases, and after that, he still has more than 300,000 left in his account. Bro, it's not rich anymore. This is the money has stopped being a problem at all mode. Even Russell can't stand it. He's literally getting jealous. You've withdrawn 40,000, and almost nothing has changed? Our guy just shrugs his shoulders. Yes, it's pocket money in general. Russell, at that moment, probably for the first time in a long time, wanted to resurrect only to die again, because such wealth is already a personal insult. Lucian is getting high. After his previous life, where he had to count every penny, now he feels like a man who accidentally turned on cheat codes. When he gets back, he immediately finds Crown, and without further ado, he throws him a hefty purse. Crown opens it, and he just stops breathing. He has an amount in front of him that they would not have earned with their whole company for many years. People literally smell the smell of new money and don't understand if it's a dream or reality. Lucian speaks as calmly as possible. There's 40,000 here. Buy everything you need. If there's anything left, take care of it yourself. Bro, this is the level of a real investor. Don't hold 1,000. Don't buy the cheapest. And 40,000 at once. Crown doesn't know how to react at all. Now a real war is starting in his head. On the one hand, a warlock stands in front of him. That is, a person who has been taught to hate since childhood. With another, this same warlock had just given him more money than anyone had ever trusted him with. And then Lucian finally finishes him off. "What should I call you?" Crown asks the question in a completely different voice. Lucian smiles a little. The real name cannot be disclosed. So he calmly replies, "Call me Hamel." Our guy just takes his older brother's alias. Why come up with a new nickname if a good one is already lying around? And then he adds another detail. "When we're alone, address me as Mr." Crown agrees immediately. The contract works like clockwork, but Lucian understands one thing perfectly. Crown still doesn't trust him. He can see it in his face, by the look of it, by the way he answers. And instead of pretending that nothing is happening, our guy immediately puts his cards on the table. "You don't love me." Crown is already twitching, because it's true. In his head, a warlock is almost synonymous with the word monster. Russell just sighs heavily from the side. Well, of course, who would even like to hear something like that in person? But Lucian continues absolutely calmly. "The day will come when you will be proud of what you have done today." That's the main character's confidence level. Bro hasn't even built an organization yet. He is only 3 people. Everyone is suspicious of him, but he speaks as if he has already seen the end credits of this story. Crown, of course, does not believe it all. It all sounds like beautiful words to him, but Lucius doesn't care. He had already calculated the future. He knows perfectly well how capable Crown will be, and he understands that it is this person who will one day be able to manage the entire organization. Lucian himself is going to stay in the shadows, like a real director. Let the others see the leader, and the real player will move the pieces from behind the scenes. This is already beginning to resemble not an ordinary novel, but a mixture of solo leveling with a secret organization from some kind of Gyasa code. After that, Lucian suddenly says, "Let's go." Crown doesn't understand. "Where to?" Our guy just smiles a little. "Let's see what you're capable of." It turns out that he noticed an interesting situation a long time ago. The Count Horian's family had just sent the perfect scapegoat, and Lucian is already going to take advantage of this opportunity 100%. In short, the organization hasn't even really appeared yet, and our guy is already looking for his first victim to demonstrate his strength. Bro isn't going to waste any time at all. In short, Lucian is not going to just give away money and play the good boss. It's time to check who he's recruited into his future organization at all. Before going out, Crown still can't stand it and asks a question. Mr. Hamill, why do you need an organization at all? Bro is already starting to add 2 plus 2. Lucian certainly doesn't look like the kind of person who would open a charitable foundation. Our guy doesn't even try to get out of it. I need people who will clean up the mess that I will leave behind. That's what they call honesty. Not to bring justice. Don't protect the weak. And immediately, yes, there will be complete chaos after me. Someone has to cover it up. Crown only frowns harder after that. He has one question in his head. Why us? But Lucian is already ending the conversation. Think less. Work harder. Bro generally hates idle chatter. Meanwhile, they reach the place where the gang sent by Viscount Horion is located. Before a real fight, Russell suddenly looks like a stern coach before the tournament finals. Don't be nervous. Do everything the same as in training. Just move the darkness. Rada gets the installation too. The fox cub stretches out immediately. Rada is ready. This kid has so much energy as if he's going to a festival instead of a fight. Meanwhile, Crown and Helen are talking among themselves. Helen is still nervous. He's the same, the warlock. Crown sighs heavily. You'll think about it later. Focus now. But inside he worries himself. All his life he had been told horror stories about warlocks. One conversation with them, they say, and you'll never wash your soul away. And now he's standing next to one of them. And that's amazing. No one has died yet. Russell just chuckles softly. So much for folktales. Lucian starts counting down. 10 seconds. Rada immediately understands the plan. Our guy lets out the darkness. She crawls silently on the ground like a real black snake. The first target becomes the sentry. The darkness instantly grabs his legs. Then he closes his mouth. The poor guy doesn't even have time to make a sound. At the same moment, shoo! Crown's arrow pierces his head. Helen drags the body into the bushes with lightning speed. All. -1. It's so clean that the others don't even realize that their friend has already gone to meet the ancestors. Russell smiles contentedly. You're doing better than I expected. But Lucian isn't enjoying success at all right now. Conversely, he understands how difficult it is to control several streams of darkness at once. If it hadn't been for Rada's help, he would have been lying face down somewhere by now. Our guy makes a quick conclusion. We need to train even more. That's why Russell respects him. After the first success, Lucian does not begin to consider himself a god. He immediately looks for errors. That's the mindset of a real fighter. The first sentry, second, third. The team works like a well-oiled machine. Lucian binds, Crown shoots, Helen removes the bodies. The Trinity literally turned into a conveyor belt for eliminating opponents. But then the most delicious thing begins. Lucian decides not to play one at a time anymore. He wants to test everything he has learned. 15 seconds. This is his current limit. Rada confidently answers. Rada can handle it. And then darkness abruptly begins to spread across the land. She surrounds a whole group of enemies at once. The boys don't understand anything at first. Then they notice a strange black mass. What's that supposed to mean? In the next second, the darkness rises sharply. It was as if a huge black wall had grown out of the ground itself. And then one of the bandits finally catches up. Black magic. The warlock. Congratulations. You've got it. But it's too late. Lucian calmly gives the order. Grab it. And the whole black wall suddenly comes alive. Dozens of long arms grow out of it. They grab every enemy at the same time. Bro, it looks like death itself has decided to go on an overtime shift. The bandits are trying to escape. They scream. They're twitching. But it's no use. They stand completely immobilized. And then the real shooting gallery begins. Crown shoots 3 arrows at once. 3 heads. 3 hits. Helen is not far behind at all. He flies up to the bound opponents and begins to work with a dagger as fast as if he is participating in a speed competition. In a few seconds, the Viscount squad ceases to exist. That's the whole battle. Crown and Helen look at Lucian with completely different eyes. Previously, they had only seen a rich aristocrat in front of them. Now, they understand that there is a man standing next to them who is capable of turning any battle into a beating with one magic. To be honest, if they were Lucian's enemies now, they wouldn't even have had time to figure out exactly when they died. But so far, everyone is admiring. Our guy is getting really sick. Everything starts to swim before my eyes. My head is splitting. My temples are pounding as if someone has decided to arrange a rock concert right inside my skull. Russell explains it right away. You've wasted too much darkness. It's like draining a battery completely. The body just starts protesting. And then Russell reveals the unpleasant truth. If it wasn't for Rada in the last training sessions, you'd be unconscious by now. Bro, this is a cold shower. I just want to fight. And you're immediately reminded that you're still a beginner. But then Russell finally relents. Although for the first real battle, it was very good. Rada immediately leans out of the shadows. And Rada? A typical child. There is praise for the owner. Where's mine? Russell laughs. You're doing great too, although there is still a lot to learn. The fox cub immediately starts giggling contentedly. After the fight, Lucien decides to leave first. Crown quickly catches up with him. On the way, he suddenly asks, "Are you feeling ill?" Our guy even grins. Since when is he worried about me? And he answers as sharply as possible, "Your heart is wider than the sea." Crown just sighs. Yes, it won't be easy to work with this boss. Back in the city, Lucien first gets rid of his cloak and mask. There's no evidence. There are no traces. Everything should disappear. Then he suddenly remembers another problem. The master, do you happen to have a normal mask? Russell immediately grins. Of course there is. What kind of warlock exists without a pretentious robe and a mysterious mask? This is almost a mandatory profession dress code. But he's not just going to give it away, but it hints at where you can find it. Our guy is already mentally rubbing his hands. Another rare item will soon be in his collection. However, there is one problem. The sun. Rada literally hates daylight. Lucien picks up little bro and steps out of the shadows. The fox cub immediately begins to get indignant. Rada hates the light. His fur stands on end. Honestly, it looks like a vampire was forced to sunbathe on the beach. Upon reaching the mansion, Lucien immediately heads to the garden. Russell thinks the student wants to rest after a hard fight. But no, our guy is already making his next plan. He remembers all the ghosts that inhabit the mansion. Most of them can't stand him. Means it's useless to negotiate. There remains a second way. That's the one, which Russell promised to show later. Lucien calmly looks at his mentor. The master, tell me about the second way to subdue ghosts. And here it becomes clear. If our guy used to gather allies in a good way, now some ghosts will regret very much that they got in his way. After a hard fight, Lucien is not going to rest at all. Russell looks at him like a man who just ran a marathon and has already signed up for the next one. Lucien, do you seriously want to use the dark again? You've had a splitting headache recently. Our guy just waves his hand. It's easier now. Russell immediately understands where everything is going. Don't even think about increasing Racho's dose again. Bro literally doesn't let the student finish, because he knows perfectly well that it's about to start again. Maybe a little more? No. We won't even discuss it. But Lucien is starting to worry for another reason. There is less and less time left before the banquet, and that means we will have to face the divine beast of light very soon. And our guy is still melting in the sun like ice cream in a microwave oven. Russell just grins. That's why I told you not to go. But Lucien is stubborn. He has already made his decision. There is no turning back. Therefore, he immediately changes the subject. Then teach me the second way to subdue ghosts. Russell smiles contentedly. This method is much easier, then suddenly disappears. Wait a bit, I need to catch someone. While the teacher is away, the sweetest scene of the last few chapters begins. Rada is running around the garden, enjoying life, and suddenly runs up to Lucius. Look, Rada has paws. Our guy doesn't know how to react to this at all. Yes, there is. But the fox cub won't let up. He plucks a small yellow flower and holds it out to Lucius with both paws. Rada gives it to you. Our guy is hanging out. Bro really didn't expect this. For me, yes. Why? Rada's answer generally pierces the armor. Rada loves flowers, and Lucien loves flowers. That's why Rada gives you a flower. Honestly, sometimes this little fuzzy does more emotional damage than all the villains combined. Lucien suddenly realizes one thing. It was the first time in a very long time that someone had given him something. Just like that. Without benefit, without conditions. And at that moment, something inside him seems to change. He carefully accepts the flower. Even the red thread of fate is immediately cut off. It's like the world itself is like that. That's right, that's how it should be. But the calm lasts exactly 2 seconds. Russell returns, and he's dragging a ghost by the scruff of the neck. Lucien raises his head, and the face changes instantly. He recognizes him, and childhood immediately pops into my head. This particular freak was one of those ghosts who had been bullying him for years. While Lucien was living in a real nightmare, every night, these creatures were just having fun. Bro, it's not learning that starts now. And the real revenge. Russell immediately notices the student's condition. He carefully sends Rada back to play in the garden. The baby should not look at what is going to happen now. After that, Russell grabs the ghost by the head. Bam! You still dare to look at my student? Another blow. Bam! Remember that. Most of these ghosts only understand power. That's why I like the second way of submission much more. Lucien remembers the last conversation. But you said it was bad to attack ghosts. Russell shrugs his shoulders. If it's that kind of trash, the world will only get better. Bro, this is the mindset of a man who has lived for hundreds of years. The ghost finally starts to panic. What? Wait. But Lucien doesn't listen to him anymore. He slowly releases the darkness. Slap. Black magic smashes into the ghost's face. A black mark immediately appears on the transparent body. He looks at her in horror. Are you a warlock? Lucien responds as calmly as possible. On your knees. That's karma. Once upon a time, this ghost enjoyed watching little Lucien tremble with fear. Now the roles have completely changed, and he's already trembling. Lucien looks down at him. Everything is literally boiling inside. He had been bullied for so many years. I've been afraid of every Russell for so many years, and now for the first time I got the opportunity to fight back. But the most important thing, he doesn't snap, does not destroy the ghost. He does not allow rage to completely take over himself. He keeps his head cool. Russell nods contentedly. Now grab him with the darkness. Lucien does exactly that. The ghost starts shaking even harder. Will you obey me? He's trying to mumble something. But Lucien adds more darkness. Black energy begins to spread through the ghost's body. The poor guy is already yelling as if he was personally enrolled in the toughest course of re-education. Will you obey? Yes, I will. Please. The next second, it's all over. A familiar black star appears on the palm of your hand. The contract has been concluded. All. Now another ghost is officially working for Lucien. Russell smiles contentedly. Well done. And here's Lucien himself. Suddenly he starts laughing. Quiet at first. Then it gets louder. Because for the first time in many years, he felt a real sense of relief. He was finally no longer a victim. Now he's in control of the situation. But just a few seconds later, the laughter abruptly disappears. Our guy quickly pulls himself together. No, you can't lose your head. That's why I want to respect him. He understands how easily such a force can change a person. So he gets right back to business. There are rats in the house. The ghost nods nervously. Do you know who's selling information about me? I know. Vera's maid. Lucien won't even recognize that name. Means, it's just one pawn. The others? The ghost quickly shakes his head. He really doesn't know anything else. Then Lucien gives a new order. You're number 2 now. Find all the rats that betrayed me, like that. In just a few days, our guy has already assembled his own ghost intelligence. The first agent, the second agent. Soon, at this rate, his entire mansion will be under round-the-clock surveillance. When Lucien leaves, the ghost stares after him for a long time. It's only now that one simple thought finally dawns on him. This is not the same bullied child they bullied for 10 years. A real warlock stands in front of them. And if hell used to be a mansion for Lucien, now hell begins for the ghosts themselves. Back in the room, Lucien suddenly becomes very calm. He asks Russell for permission to rest for a while. And then he asks a completely unexpected question. The master, I was happy today. I'm very happy. But I'm scared. After all, I liked this power. He looks at the negative mark on his hand, and he's afraid that one day he'll start enjoying more than just winning, but also from the cruelty itself. Russell answers without hesitation. Be happy. As much as you want. If you start making mistakes, I'll stop you. That's why Russell is one of the best mentors in this story. He does not forbid force. He doesn't say to be afraid of her. He just promises to stop his student in time. Lucien smiles sincerely for the first time in a long time. He carefully places the flower Rada gave him on the table, and silently looks at the sunset. But the rest ends quickly. Russell reminds me, what are you going to do with the maid Vera? Our guy calmly replies, for now, I'll just give her a good scare. She's probably already on her guard, and as if on purpose after these words, there's a knock on the door. Knock. Knock. Bro, it seems that the next problem has already come to Lucius by itself. After the whole ghost story and the showdown, Lucien is already going to rest in peace. But that was not the case. Antonio knocks on the door. Young master, the Count wants to see you. Our guy immediately understands where the wind is blowing from. It looks like they found traces of a battle near the mansion. That is, the parents' classic lecture is about to begin. Where are you going alone? Why are there no guards? How much can you make us worry? In short, everything is according to the program. But before leaving, Lucien suddenly asks about something else entirely. Antonio, do you know the maid Vera? The butler immediately nods. Of course. She serves the female knights. Lucien makes the most innocent face possible. I just heard that there was some noise near the training hall. Antonio is already going to give the girl a dressing down, but our guy stops him right away. Don't. This is where the real psychological game begins. Because Lucien already knows that it is Vera who leaks information to the enemies. Kill her? No. It's too easy. If you remove the pawn, the real master will immediately realize that he has been discovered. But if you make her live in constant fear herself, this is a completely different level of pressure. Russell immediately understands the plan. Did you decide to let her live? Lucien just smiles strangely. For now, she'll do me more good alive. Bro is gradually starting to play not by force, but with my head. Carson is already waiting for him on the way to his father's office. He stands near the door as if he was deliberately guarding his younger brother. Lucien says hello calmly. Carson gets straight to the point. I've talked to your security detail. Our guy doesn't argue at all. Yes, it was my mistake. Carson almost choked on his breath. Is this really his younger brother? Where are the usual screams? Where are the charges? Where is "leave me alone"? Nothing. Lucien just admitted his guilt, and it is at this moment that Carson suddenly remembers his brother's old words. Lucien had once shouted at him, "You don't understand what I'm going through at all." Carson wasn't listening at the time, and now a completely different person is standing in front of him. For the first time, Bro begins to realize how much his younger brother has changed. Carson sighs softly. Dad wants to talk about more than just security. It turns out recently traces of enemy activity were found near the mansion again, and not some bandits, and the real opponents of the Empire. Lucien instantly tenses up inside. Is it really because of Rata? He remembers the day when darkness first turned into a little furry bro, and he understands. It was then that Carson was constantly disappearing somewhere. It looked like he was investigating a strange energy. Fortunately, everything was attributed to an enemy attack. Russell just smiles contentedly. I was lucky, and it's true. If only they had started digging deeper, there would be a lot of questions. Lucien visits Novio. My father doesn't even raise his voice. He just points to the couch. Sit down. Our guy immediately admits the mistake again. I'm sorry, but then something happens that he did not expect at all. Novio shakes his head. You don't have to apologize to me. Lucien freezes. It turns out, in the Count's opinion, it wasn't his son's fault at all, and the knight who let the heir leave alone. That's the mindset of a real family head. Lucien immediately asks, don't punish him too harshly. And Novio agrees. Bro, it seems that the father is now as surprised as the son. Lucien had never worried about others before, and now he's asking for a reduced sentence for his own guard. Novio looks at him as if the person in front of him has been replaced. After that, the conversation becomes much more serious. The Count begins to talk about the state of the Empire. On the one hand, the Sea of Death. It's such a creepy place that all life there just dies. With another, lots of neighboring kingdoms that smile in your face, and they're already sharpening the knife behind their backs. Shortly, no one is going to live peacefully here. And then, Novio gives out the most unpleasant thing. The enemy has started acting again. And this time it's much more serious than the usual skirmishes. Lucien immediately feels alarmed inside. Because in the novel, it was from here that the strengthening of the future main opponent gradually began. The main events are still 2 years away, but the first figures have already started to move. And suddenly, Novio looks directly into his son's eyes. You're their target. That's not good at all. Our guy doesn't understand at all at first. What's the point of kidnapping him? The Kronia family's mansion is almost better guarded than a fortress. Climbing in here is suicide. And then Lucien gets it. Stop. It wasn't Viscount Horion who bought the information about me. And the real enemy state. Bro, this is a completely different scale. It turns out that everything is much worse than he thought, and that's why he's finally convinced. Not killing Vera right away was the ideal solution. Now you can use it to reach real customers. Meanwhile, Novio continues cautiously. I know it's hard for you to be around people, but you need a personal servant to keep you safe. And then Lucien suddenly answers before his father can finish. I'll choose it myself. Novio doesn't even realize what he's heard right away. Lucien continues calmly. This will be my man, so I have to choose too. Even if I make a mistake, I'll take responsibility. Bro, this is our boyfriend's first time talking like an adult heir. Novio is silent for a long time, and then a strange feeling appears inside. He's glad, very glad, but it's also a little sad, because he understands. His youngest son had matured too quickly. In the end, the father just smiles softly. Good, but let me keep protecting you a little longer. Lucien is smiling too. Of course, father, and to be honest, it was impossible to imagine such calm conversations between them before. The daily report starts in the evening. Rata. Call number 1. The fox cub immediately raises its tail like an antenna. Number 1. Report. The bro works like a real cordless phone. The ghost reports the latest news. Crown had his team completely under control. Straw first threw a tantrum when she found out that Lucien was a warlock, but then I saw the money, and abruptly calmed down. Classic. Money heals better than any psychologist. There were no attempts to find out Lucien's identity either. Crown immediately shut everyone up. Truth, Straw is still swearing. Rata is already going to repeat her entire vocabulary verbatim, but Lucien instantly interrupts him. That's it. Enough. It's a little early for the little furry bro to know some words. At night, Russell habitually turns out the lights. Lucien is already talking in a sleepy voice. It's good to have you around, master. Russell doesn't say anything, but he remains standing by the bed until the morning, like a real bodyguard, although he pretends that he doesn't care at all. The next day, a new series of psychological tortures begins. Lucien specifically calls Vera to serve him after training. The girl approaches, and she's already shaking all over, because after the last meeting her nerves finally gave out. Our guy calmly takes a towel. He looks her straight in the eye. Are you afraid of me? No, I said. Then why are you so nervous? Vera is already barely standing on her feet. Lucien continues to smile. Don't worry, you'll get used to it over time, and you'll stop being afraid. To anyone else it would have sounded like encouragement, but Vera understands something completely different. He knows. He knows for sure. When Lucien leaves, she stands still for a long time. My heart is pounding like it's going to jump out of my chest. Our guy didn't even lay a finger on her, but he scared me more than if he had just started threatening. This is a real psychological terror. A few more days pass. There are only 4 days left before the banquet. Lucien continues to eat racho every morning. Then he coughs up blood. Then he eats again. It's been like this for the 10th day in a row. But the result? 0. Immunity to light does not appear at all. Our guy is already getting suspicious. Maybe. Do I need to increase the dose? Russell, meanwhile, suddenly becomes suspiciously kind. He speaks softly, smiling. He behaves like the most caring teacher in the world. Lucien looks at him, and inside he's already starting to laugh. Here he is. My chance to persuade the master to give me more racho. Bro is clearly going to pull off his favorite scheme again. And Russell, it seems, does not even suspect yet that the student is already preparing for new negotiations. In short, our guy has been trying to boost his immunity to light for 10 days in a row. It's the same scenario every morning. I ate racho, coughed up blood, I went to train. The result? Absolute 0. Lucien is already beginning to plot an insidious plan. What if we just increase the dose? He looks at Russell cautiously. The teacher has been acting suspiciously mild these days. He talks calmly, smiles, and has almost become a kind grandfather. Our guy is already like that in his mind. I'll talk him into it now. But Russell instantly reads that look. Lucien, don't even start. Bro literally reads minds. Stop thinking about the obvious stupidity. Lucien makes the most innocent face possible. You're very quick-witted. Of course he's smart. Your eyes were darting around like you'd already figured out another way to ruin yourself. That's all. The plan failed even before the start of negotiations. But there's no time to be sad for long. It's time to end the story with faith. Lucien had been deliberately pushing her for several days. He didn't threaten. He didn't scream. He did not accuse. He just kept showing up. He was smiling. He spoke ambiguous phrases. And waited. Because I understood one simple thing. Without proof, Novio will never punish a person, even if the suspicions are very serious. And yesterday, finally, what he had been waiting for happened. Due to nerves, Vera accidentally drops the note, and ghost number 1 immediately brings it to the owner. Bingo. The note contains all the information about Lucius that the girl was going to give to the customer. Now you can go to your father. When Lucien enters the office, Vera is already on her knees. Novio is nearby. Carson. And the maid herself looks like she spent the night not dreaming, but waiting for her own execution. Our boyfriend won't even let her open her mouth. He starts the play right away, and he's playing just at the level of Actor of the Year. I trusted you. The voice is calm, almost sad. I thought you were a good person, but you betrayed me. Even Russell is freaking out. Lucien. That's what you've just done. Bro specifically speaks as if Faith was very dear to him, although in fact he's been methodically driving her crazy for the last few days. Novio raises his hand. That's enough. That was exactly what Lucien wanted. My father will be interrogating me now. The Count gets straight to the point. Who's behind you? No talking about pity, no moralizing, no why did you do that? Just the facts. Vera begins to cry. I only did it for the money. Who was I supposed to give the note to? I do not know. Where? Between the windows on the 3rd floor, she answers questions so quickly, as if she hopes that speed will save her life. But Novio had already figured it out. There is no organizer in front of them. They have an ordinary pawn in front of them. He calmly gives the order. Keep doing everything as usual. Vera doesn't even understand what's going on. She thought she was about to be executed, and hers. They leave me to work. Certainly not out of charity. Now they will be looking for real enemies through it. Bro, that's the level of counterintelligence. And then Lucien suddenly adds another thought. Father, who can safely leave the mansion and come back without arousing suspicion? Novio immediately understands where he's going. While Lucien held the note in his hands, he saw a blue thread, and I followed her. She brought it to the knight. Check the person who will take the note. If it's really a knight, let him be my guard at the banquet. Carson looks closely at his younger brother. Lucien smiles calmly. I'm a crony too. Let me handle this myself. Honestly, a month ago no one would have even believed that he would say these words. A little time passes, and now Lucien is already walking through the city with Carson. Bro rarely went out with his brother anywhere that he can't remember the last time it happened. But Rada is happy. It's a holiday for him. Rada likes to walk. The fox cub runs around as if it has seen the world for the first time. Carson suddenly explains why he dragged his brother to the city in the first place. I need to buy something. Lucien first thinks about another investigation, but everything turns out to be much simpler. The wooden sword is no longer suitable for you. Our guy is hanging out. We are. have you come to buy a sword for me? Carson nods calmly. Once I decided to learn how to wield a sword, you'll get used to the real weight. But don't think I'm going to give you any favors. Russell immediately smiles contentedly. This is a real teacher. On the way, Carson delivers another piece of news. You were right. The knight had indeed taken the note. His name is Shen. He is the one who will most likely now be assigned as Lucien's personal escort. Our guy just nods. The plan worked perfectly. But right at this moment, something is changing. Lucien notices that the city is too noisy today. There are more people than usual. Everyone is running somewhere. And then, Russell's face changes dramatically. The priests. Bro, that's too bad. Very bad. Carson notices them too, and he gets serious right away. Let's go back, immediately, because the priests weren't supposed to be here today. If they violated the contract, so something really serious has happened. And Lucien immediately draws the most unpleasant conclusion. Is there a warlock somewhere? And suddenly, the blue thread that had been connecting Lucien to an unknown person all this time, it tightens abruptly. It leads to a narrow alley. Our guy can feel his heart starting to beat faster. And then the memory throws up a scene from the novel. One almost invisible character. Just a few lines. But it is he who will remain faithful to Lucius until the end. His words pop up in my head. If I had known then that Mr. Lucien was around. Bro, Lucien understands. This is the moment. That's the man. Carson is in charge again. Let's go back. But our guy isn't listening anymore. He takes off abruptly. Lucien. Carson rushes after him. Russell is actually starting to panic. A priest is approaching us. But Lucien endures. He's already starting to feel sick just from the presence of the holy power. However, he keeps running. Because he knows, if he doesn't make it now, then it will be too late. Following the blue thread, he turns into an alley, and finally sees him. The boy is sitting next to a pile of garbage, all alone. It is to him that the thread of fate leads. I found it. At this moment, something very strange happens. The darkness inside Lucien suddenly begins to rejoice. It was like meeting someone very important. Even Russell gets lost. What is this feeling? Never. I've never felt this way before. Lucien himself doesn't understand either. He knows this character from the novel. But there was no such thing. And suddenly Rada runs up to the boy himself. She jumps on his shoulder, and she starts passing it to him. The darkness. Lucien is in complete shock. Rada, what are you doing? The fox cub answers quite calmly. His darkness is unstable. Rada helps. Stop. The darkness? Lucien literally freezes. How is this even possible? After all, this boy, not a warlock. He's at all, not a human being. Lucien immediately realizes who he has just found, and it gets as serious as possible inside. Because that boy, not a human at all. This is Hume, the experiment of some crazy fallen warlock. He was literally created from the corpse of a monster. Yes, this is already the Frankenstein level, only with magic. And the strangest thing, according to the plot of the novel, Hume could not use magic or aura at all. He existed as some kind of unknown being. That's why Lucien doesn't understand what's going on right now. And suddenly, crackling, the blue thread between them breaks, as if the goal had finally been achieved. Russell immediately switches to Rada. Did you do that? The little fox puffs out his chest proudly. Yes. His darkness was unstable. Rada just shared his own. Everyone freezes. Russell is silent for a few seconds. Then he asks slowly, wait a minute. You? Do you see the darkness? Rada nods happily. Of course. Rada never lies. Even Russell is in shock right now. Bro lived for God knows how many years. He was a genius warlock. But for the first time he sees a creature that can literally see the darkness itself. Looks like the divine animal turned out to be much more beautiful than everyone thought. Meanwhile, Lucien helps Hume up. Wake up. And then another strange thing happens. The boy was shaking like a leaf just now. But after a second he answers absolutely calmly. Thanks to you, my condition has stabilized. Thank you. Lucien gets goosebumps. Because it sounds like a child and it feels like an ancient butler with 100 years of experience is talking to you. Manners don't match age at all. Hume notices the reaction. And he's absolutely serious. Was my greeting wrong? Bro takes communication so literally that it even gets a little creepy. And it was at this moment, a clink. Carson draws his sword. Lucien turns around abruptly. His older brother is already standing between him and Hume. The face is as serious as possible. Our guy is only now realizing, from the outside, it looked as if he had suddenly run to rescue some unknown boy, was talking to himself and hanging out in the middle of the alley. Very suspicious. Brother, let me explain. But Carson isn't even listening. Back up, because the real problem is already very close. Russell raises his voice. Lucien, look at your hands. Our guy looks down, and he understands. It's not Hume who's shaking. He himself is trembling. The sacred energy began to work again. The nausea returns instantly. It seems like my stomach is about to decide to exit the chat. Priests enter the alley. Their leader immediately begins the official speech. We have come to destroy the evil that follows the darkness. Carson doesn't even blink. You want to say, have you voluntarily decided to go into exile? That's a low blow, because priests know the rules perfectly well. They are forbidden to walk around here on their own. But the main one calmly answers, even if we're exiled, we can't ignore the trail of darkness. Carson takes a step forward. The one you're looking for isn't here. Go away. The priest continues to insist. Let us make sure. Carson calmly removes his hood. I'm Carson Cronia. Silence immediately ensues. All the priests look at each other, because Cronia's last name sounds like a cheat code on the border. But even after that, the boss shakes his head. I'm sorry, but the order of the God of Light is more important to us. Bro really decided to butt heads with the man who runs the entire border. Boldly, very brave, and very stupid. Carson is already getting nervous, because he sees Lucian. He's getting paler and paler. The scariest thing, he doesn't know what he's protecting at all. Yuma? A warlock? Or just some kid? But he doesn't care. Once Lucian rushed after this boy, so my brother needs him. Which means Carson will defend him to the end. It's that simple. A real staring game begins between the parties. No one is moving. No one gives in. And Russell is almost panicking. That's crazy, he sees perfectly well. The holy power literally destroys the surrounding darkness. For an ordinary warlock, this is a deadly unpleasant place. For Lucian, who is still just learning, hell in general. Are you still holding up? But Lucian can no longer answer, because he feels it, just a little more, and he'll throw up again. Rada is also almost shutting down. Rada doesn't have the strength anymore. The fox cub is hanging powerlessly on Yuma's shoulder. But here comes a new mystery. Hume, he doesn't react at all. It's like the holy energy doesn't touch him. Russell breaks down completely. Who the hell is he? After a few seconds, the head priest finally makes a decision. He knows about Lucian's allergies, and he understands. If he keeps pushing, the guy could die right here. Therefore the priests leave. Victory. Carson immediately puts the sword away. He approaches his brother. Is everything okay? Lucian only nods slightly. You can tell me everything at home. And then calmly adds, Yuma, you're coming with us too. That's how Hume gets an invitation to live in the Cronia family mansion in just 5 minutes. Good career growth. But luck doesn't last long. When they're already leaving, some young priest suddenly decides to become a hero. He releases a stream of holy power without orders. Russell immediately rushes forward. You idiot, he's literally trying to shut Lucian down, although he's a ghost himself. And he doesn't have time. The holy energy still touches Lucian. Carson turns around faster than the man can blink. Who dares? At this point, he no longer resembles a human at all. More like a beast that smelled blood. The sword is instantly at the priest's throat. The head priest immediately falls to his knees. I'm sorry. He was wrong. But too late. Lucian takes a step forward, and, blood gushes from his mouth, and much stronger than after Racho. It's such a pain. It was as if the body had decided to shut down completely. Carson managed to fend off most of the blow, but even the remainder was enough, and right before consciousness starts to shut down, Lucian sees the blue thread again. What? After that, the world just disappears. When he opens his eyes, Russell is already sitting in front of him. Calm down. You're home. Rada immediately appears nearby. Lucian, you've been sleeping all day. The fox cub immediately checks his cheek with his paw. Our guy exhales with relief. But the first question is not about myself at all. Rada, are you okay? Real progress. Until recently, Lucian was only worried about his own skin. But then he remembers the most important thing. I was. A scandal? Russell runs his hand over his neck in silence. I was. Carson, cut off the head of that priest. This is a real disaster. Bro literally executed a clergyman before the biggest banquet in recent years. The politicians are going to be absolutely thrilled right now. Spoiler alert, no. Then the conversation turns to Hume. Russell looks as puzzled as possible. Him. Strange. Lucian pretends that he doesn't understand anything. What do you mean? And then Russell gives it out, that even Lucian forgets to breathe. He sees me. What? Even Lucian, who knows almost the entire novel, is in complete shock right now. Russell has said it 100 times. Ghosts can only be seen by those blessed with darkness. But Hume, not a warlock. That's impossible. Then that's all that remains. No, I don't even want to think about it. It seems like even a genius warlock has encountered something for the first time that he can't explain. Lucian goes straight to Hume. It's already clean, washed up. He's sitting in the guest room. It's like yesterday I wasn't hiding near a garbage dump at all. When the boy sees Lucian, he immediately smiles. Good afternoon. Lucian notices. His father really settled him as a full-fledged guest. Not in the basement, not under guard, namely, as a guest. And then the real explosion of the plot begins. Hume talks calmly, with Russell, looks right at him. She answers him. He even asks how to handle it properly. Russell finally freezes up. He really sees me, so did Lucien. Because now there is no doubt anymore. This is not a coincidence. And then Hume says quite calmly, I know. That Mr. Lucien is a warlock. Silence. And immediately the following. Thanks to your darkness, I will be able to exist normally for a few more years. Russell almost gets a heart attack. What are you talking about? Hume still answers calmly. I've been turned into a monster. My body is imperfect. That's why I need darkness. And as proof, he sticks his tongue out, on which it is engraved, the Black Star. The exact same one that appears when signing a contract with ghosts. Lucien looks at her, and it just freezes. Because of that, it wasn't even in the novel.